Hey, peace, salute to the family. What's good, everybody? Hold up, let me get that overlay up. Ain't too much of a change here. Let me get that off. We're gonna have a part two from Ant's morning rant. We're gonna talk about the reduced bond. We're also going to talk about how a lot of these newborn right wingers, on here decided to change their independent stance when they said that Carmelo Anthony had a self-defense case. And when I say a lot, I mean the guy's name that's in the title, Tim Pool. You know, Tim Pool in particular. You know, and we're actually going to break down his video because he didn't break the news. I guess we've all seen it, and a few outlets have reported it. But apparently, Carmelo Anthony's family has, well, they are in the process of purchasing a new home. Okay, so now they're trying to create the narrative as if they are using their Give Send Go fundraising money that they raise for legal defense to just buy a new house and ramp it up with security and stuff like that, which I doubt that the judge granted bond over those circumstances. But we're actually going to get right into that. Let's just get right into it. Screw it. All right.
He's freed in Austin Metcalf murder. We are we are in trouble as a nation, as a people, and after my last segment, honestly, guys, I'm largely viewing a lot of our political issues as, I don't know, this AI stuff. I don't think people realize is how serious this stuff really is. But in terms of the politics of this nation, this story, let me tell you, nothing screams self-defense and innocent like buying a new house with funds that were donated for a legal defense. This is what Black Lives Matter activism is and always has been.
You see how these motherfuckers just go right back in? This is the same dude just a couple of days ago. Yeah, he does have a case for self-defense, which he could have stood on that because you do have a case. Yes, it's a very, very weak case for straight up self-defense. Like, this is, likely, if motherfuckers lucky, you get it down to like second degree. What would be the equivalent of manslaughter in most other states? It'd be like a second degree, F with sudden passion or something like that, and maybe you can get a plea and you can be out somewhere between 10 and 15 years from now because there is a body and you did admit to doing it. But at the same time, there is still a case for self-defense, and a good lawyer can fight that case. Doesn't mean they'll win, but you do have a case right here. But notice, you're gonna hear, especially on this video, that he's pretty much had to backtrack all of those statements. And yeah, he's had to pretty much backtrack them and remind everybody that, like, that's it. Fuck it. I'm taking it all back. I don't want to lose my motherfucking audience. I like being a right wing social media reporting influencer. Don't revoke my conservative card because I sided with the dark guy. I am just looking at the facts, but at the same time, I get it now. I get it now. We're not supposed to side with them under any circumstances. Let's go.
And I don't think it bodes well for Carmelo Anthony. But I will give you an update.
What's up,
as
Kiwi?
I had the discussion with Jack Posobiec the other day. And my view now, after the conversation with Jack, is that I was incorrect. And I believe that the Texas law, as it pertains to this incident, is first-degree murder. And the reason why that is that Texas actually doesn't have any other degrees of murder, is my understanding, which I could be wrong about again, but we went through this and ultimately discovered upon looking at the law, Texas defines acting recklessly in a way that can cause death, which results in death, as first-degree felony.
Yeah, I mean, it could be considered that, that's why the headline right here, and I'm going to bring it up a little larger so y'all can read it. The headline is kind of misleading. buy a new house and security with the donated 430K. Like, you don't know what the fuck he's going to do with the 430K, because the only thing that we know is because that total is still going up. It's still in that damn Give, Send, Go account. So you don't know what the hell they're using to purchase a new house with ramped up security. They don't have a clue. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of like misleading information. You know? Really is. So, or misinformation, that's what they would call it. Now, if they said they were going to use their Give, Send, Go money to actually purchase a house, then yeah, and the likelihood is, you know what I'm saying, they probably will, because they have the account and all the money's in there. They probably are using it to purchase a house. But to just report it as if it's fact when you don't know that for sure, I don't really like it. But notice he's even going to go off of that and go back to the details in the case and all of that other stuff, because this doesn't scream innocence, because you guys are buying a house outside of the neighborhood that you're in and ramping up security while your son's on house arrest on trial for deletion. So let's go.
Murder, which means they have a broad threshold for what this is, which is why he was charged with first-degree murder, and which
what's up, Mr. Green?
The left doesn't care. Democrats don't care. This whole issue is going to fall down on racial lines. And, you know, people ask me if there's going to be justice in this. My friends, I know you're going to get mad.
Now, you hear that. I'm going to let this shit run so y'all can hear it. But y'all heard it from me. Well, we probably didn't hear it from me first. I think Jason Black kind of called out a lot of these motherfuckers starting to fight with each other. But this is Tim Pool waving the white flag. He don't want no smoke from these motherfuckers. That's why he just said straight up, this is all going to fall on racial lines. There is nothing that he just reported on and that he is going to report on that has anything to do with race, anything whatsoever. So why in the absolute fuck would it fall on racial lines, other than the fact that you purposely, the judge had purposely gave that boy a $1 million bond, knowing damn well it was unlikely that he was going to raise it. And unless he had like the best legal counsel money can buy, because keep in mind, this boy did also fire his legal counsel. I don't know if it was him. I don't know if it was his parents. I don't know if it was the activist group that advised him to do it, that they've been working with. But they fired the initial legal counsel that they had and hired this other dude that came into that bond hearing and got $1 million bond reduced to $250,000. Okay? On his first appearance. So for some reason, they picked this dude. As I said on my stream earlier, a good lawyer knows the law, but a great lawyer knows the judge. All right. So maybe that has a little something to do with it. I really don't know. You know, I don't know. But what bugs me out is, even though, like I said, again, my condolences to any family that loses a child, you know, any parent that has to outlive a child, especially over something like that. My condolences go out to them, for real. But there is still a child here that, yes, committed a heinous, vile act, but he is entitled to due process. He is entitled to a trial by jury. All right, and he's entitled to a competent, capable legal defense. So what's up? But you got people that got a problem with that after they put $1 million. They set the number like this. You had a judge that set the number, and you got people pissed off that the black community was able to come together and raise 40% of that shit in like a week. In like a week and a half. It's like whatever. People like, damn, $1 million, that's high. But here's what we'll do. You know, hey man, hey, I got 100, 200. One chick was like, fuck it, I give you 2,000. You know, a few other people handling some more, and then some other people clearly just made some phone calls like, that's your lawyer, man. We know him, man. Them motherfuckers be bitching up, making the wrong types of deals. Man, we gonna send this dude in. You know, this dude in, he be getting shit done. You know, like real shit. That's what ended up happening right here. That's why motherfuckers switch shit up. Just switch shit up. As soon as he get rid of that damn lawyer, as soon as he get rid of that original lawyer, notice what's up. The funds go up, the boy's out. He's out. You know what I'm saying? That's the law. Which y'all are telling me would have been just fine This same situation would have been just fine if he was already a rich kid, you know, a rich kid that, you know what I'm saying, his family had $1 million worth of assets. They could just post that. Just post it in cash. So they're gonna try to make the case that what ended up happening was they went into the bond hearing. They told the judge that they can't use their give, send, go money because they don't have access to it. You're about to hear Tim Pool say all of that. That's what he said. But he also told the judge that he needed to use that money to buy a house and ramp up security. Now, what judge is going to grant bond over those circumstances? Any judge in their right mind is likely going to say maybe he's safer in jail then. You know? If you need $400,000 to buy a house and security, hey, we got the best security money can buy. Plus 3 hots and a cot. You ain't even got to pay to feed them. We'll cover it. Yo, how about that? Come on, man. That makes no sense. Ain't no judge in their right mind gonna lower your bail $750,000 and you say, hey, yeah, I got the money to get, I got the $1 million to get out. I could post the $1 million. Or just have a bondsman post it, but we need to buy a house and get some security. What judge in their right mind is going to be like, okay. You know what I'm saying? So this is bullshit, but you're about to hear it.
But I'm going to tell you, I don't see how there's going to be justice in this case. BLM will show up and they will riot. And the jurors are going to fear for their lives. I mean, maybe Donald Trump can send in the National Guard to quell this and make sure there's a fair jury trial.
Hey, Black Pearl, that's exactly what they're going to use the money for. That's exactly what they're going to. What you think these lawyers work pro bono? You're going to take $450,000 that you've raised on Give, Send, Go and just buy a house right in front of these damn lawyers? This case don't have no payout at the end. They know their money's safe. They're going to leave it right in that Give, Send, Go account. That family already got you know what I'm saying, their means to go get some, you know what I'm saying, a house. You know what I'm saying? They just went and did that. Maybe went and rented one on the other side of town. Maybe a homie or whatever, you know what I'm saying, hooked them up. Like, hey, man, I stay at my place, whatever, man. Security, all of that stuff. You don't know. But I doubt they can use that money to buy a damn house because it's still in the account. It's still in the account. That's why it's still going up. All of that. So, nah.
In which case, based on all of the information presented and current political circumstances, it stands to reason that this is going to fall. This will be a conviction. So let's break this down. When in court, they told
that's for real. This is about $300,000 worth of legal fees right here. 300 something. You know what I'm saying? This is a chunk. Okay. They ain't working this case pro bono. This ain't like that Lyft discrimination shit. This is M1. You know what I'm saying? Like their only payout for real. Of course, it's a feather in their cap if they win, but with the amount of time consumed and work and resources and all of that, and these lawyers get paid win, lose, or draw. All right. And just judging by what I've seen so far, he's got some damn good ones right now. So, yeah.
They couldn't use the $430,000 for bail because they needed it for legal defense, and that they wanted to move to a bigger house with security because of the threats against Carmelo Anthony. The story for those that are not familiar, I'll keep it light. I'm not going to go through the police report over again. This was a high school track meet at a stadium. There were at least 6 high schools there. Carmelo Anthony was under a tent for which he was not a member of. He was not did not go to that high school. It was Austin Metcalf who approached him and said, you can't be here. Altercation has ensued. Carmelo Anthony drew a knife, stabbed Austin Metcalf once in the chest, killing him. And
here's the deal. His family has to post $250,000, in bond. Okay, so they're either going to pay a $30,000 fee to a bondsman, or they've got it in cash. So they probably had to pay it to a bondsman, which they unlikely don't, they probably don't have it on hand. That money in the account is just sitting in the account. So whatever. when they post that, they have to make sure that their son goes to court, or else they're on the hook for the rest of this dough. Okay, you're gonna need sureties and all types of other shit. So even if you get it down to 250,000, a million, whatever the case may be, whatever the case may be, you still have to put something up. So why wouldn't they say, hey, this little ass apartment we staying in, or this house in this shitty ass neighborhood that anybody can come here? We already got motherfucking social media, ambulance chasers, and all of this shit all up in here. I'm supposed to actually bring my son here too and protect him? What's up, Annie? Nah, man, we got to get up out of here. It is what it is. Now, how they did it is on them. How they did it is on them. But I don't think they're using the Give, Send, Go funds, at least not for like down payments and stuff like that.
We're currently at. Now, this is the merits of the case. I'm seeing a lot of people, and again, people get so mad about this one. Whatever, man. I'm not going to lie. The issue in the case.
And notice, let me go back a little bit. All right, because he's saying like people still keep getting so mad about this because he's getting ripped the fuck to shit on Twitter right now, like ripped the fuck up because he's saying that there's a case for self-defense. At least that's what he was saying, but he's had to change his stance because those right wingers are on his motherfucking ass, man, and they threatening to cancel him. Now, you're going to see some other stances in a minute once I get through with this one that really just don't give a shit. But they got melanin in their skin, so they allowed to say it. They're actually saying that them people have black privilege. They are able to pretty much say what they want, see things in the unbiased eyes, just like the judicial system is supposed to see them. But, hey, they're not allowed to say this stuff because they're white, end quote. I think it's fucking hilarious. I think it's absolutely hilarious that they're saying that people on social media have black privilege because they're able to call shit like they see it. Like, for real, people are always fucking complaining. I told y'all this shit a while ago, man. Victimhood is like the new cool kids club. For real. You got a bunch of motherfuckers threatening to cancel other folks that are complaining about getting canceled if they say shit, but threatening to cancel other folks for saying shit. This shit is fucking funny, man. And that's what I'm saying. Now they were able to, granted, shout out to the Egyptian goddess. They were able to call this shit out on the left side, like with the Democrats and the liberals and shit. They was able to call that shit out for years. And I get it. This shit's been blatant. It's been obvious. But remember, I always told everybody, this is when you lose, when you actually pick one of these fucking sides. Because these motherfuckers be on the same shit the other side, the other way too. They'll cancel your ass and call you all types of fucking names and traitors and all types of other shit just for merely disagreeing with them. And they don't give a shit. They ain't gonna attack a motherfucker just based on their skin. They'll attack motherfucker look just like them. They don't give a shit. They might be doing that shit for different they might have different agendas, but they still be pushing that shit. Shout out to Egyptian goddess. She said great content as always. Appreciate you, Egyptian goddess. Got for you.
Witness the sea walk of the incredible. Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. 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 I wanna thank you all. I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you all. I wanna thank you. Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. Keep it gangster, dog. Everybody say mercy. The city is a big. West side is a big.
Yep. We're going to make it rain. Appreciate you, Egyptian goddess, right there. And now back to Carmelo Anthony, the Anthony family. They are buying new houses, just putting them shits all the way the fuck up, all over Frisco, Texas. Let's go.
Ensued. Carmelo Anthony drew a knife, stabbed Austin Metcalf once in the chest, killing him. And this is where we're currently at. Now, this is the merits of the case. I'm seeing a lot of people, and again, people get so mad about this one. Whatever, man. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
The issue in the case is whether or not the escalation of the use of force would.
I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna water the shit down. Okay, I'm gonna water it down. I'm not gonna push the contrarian narrative, but I'm not gonna lie.
Is justifiable self-defense, and based on the reading of Texas law, there is a very thin argument for that based on the police report, and that is nothing in the police report suggests that Austin Metcalf did anything that rose to a threat of deadly force. So an escalation would fall under the first-degree felony rule. But more importantly than that, and I'll give you my argument why I think this will ultimately end up as first-degree murder, is that, one, as I stated, Texas doesn't have the multiple degrees. If you intentionally kill someone or accidentally kill someone, it's murder. Their manslaughter largely pertains to, like, you're driving a car and you don't do anything that normally would result in death, and someone dies from those actions. First-degree murder would be like, yeah, even if you are defending yourself. No, like this is important. This is important. I know everyone's gonna get mad. Calm down, guys. I'm teasing you. In the event Carmelo Anthony actually says he was defending himself, it doesn't matter. Because if you are defending yourself from a threat of force, grabbed, pushed, or otherwise, it becomes first-degree murder when you escalate disproportionately.
And listen to this motherfucker trying to talk his way out of a wet paper bag and shit. Just last week, you were saying that you can see a case for self-defense because people shouldn't be putting their hands on people. And when this man was assaulted, he found the need to defend himself. Granted, the response was not proportionate to the threat. Understandable. But, hey, one cannot dictate the other's response to an action. All you can do is dictate your own actions. So when someone puts their hands on him, you cannot dictate his response. So what's proportionate? It's not about the threat that's always there. It's about the threat that's perceived. That's what he was saying. That's what a lot of folks are saying. That's why it's kind of split. That's why people are saying there's a case for self-defense. Just really depends on how good of a case your lawyer can make. You know? But for us non-lawyers, it's a pretty fucking weak case. Yes, we agree on that. But he's had to backtrack all of that shit. What up, we on lock? Yeah. Hell, he didn't get criticized. He got crucified, bro. Crucified. No? So now he's got to talk his way back on all of the shit that he said already, but not sound like a total damn flip-flopper. And I think it is absolutely fucking hilarious that this motherfucker got to walk on eggshells, and so do the rest of these damn newborn conservative motherfuckers. And I call them newborn conservatives because they really don't understand the values of the people that they over there with. They just agreed with a few things that they said around election time, and all of a sudden thought they was just going to turncoat fucking conservative. This is why so many people went independent. They wasn't like, you know what, fuck it, I don't like Democrats, so I'm gonna flip to conservatives. I don't like conservatives, or I don't like Republicans, so I'm gonna flip to Democrats. I don't like liberals, so I'm gonna flip to conservatives. No, motherfuckers was like, you know what, I'm gonna sit my ass in the middle because it look like both of y'all full of shit. Like, both of y'all are just full of shit. I don't think I fuck with, like, I don't fuck with them because they kind of insulting me to my face. But y'all just a little more covert about the shit, and but y'all still kind of doing the same shit. So I don't know. I'll just sit back. Just sit back, see who's paying me more. Like that's how most people were. Well, not most people, but that's how a lot of people were. And the more people that see this shit, that's what they're doing. That seemed to be the stance that he was taking at first, but when he realized that that stance was bringing in mostly a right-wing conservative audience, now he decided to pander. And when you pander, that's it. That's it. You no longer, like, you can no longer stand on your own. It's the same thing that actually happened to Republicans and Democrats. Most of the motherfuckers don't even believe the shit that they're saying. They just have to say it and align with the damn party in order for it to stay alive in that game. It's the same shit.
These are important things to understand and how this case will play forward. But this is the conversation that I was having with Jack, with news that there is video footage and apparently a lot of footage. This was reported. There's a couple of arguments. If the footage exonerated Carmelo Anthony, or at least made him look good in any way, why isn't it being released? Perhaps you'd argue the family doesn't have access to it. Okay. Why isn't the family advocating for the release of the footage to the public to prove his innocence?
Because the public can't get his ass free. Like there are going to be 12 fucking jurors, bro. The public is not going to get him off. So why the hell would the police release the footage to the public? Now, granted, you know, it'll get leaked, TMZ, you know what I'm saying? That price tag will keep on going up. And once that shit hits the high six-figure range, you know, somebody's going to drop it. That's the way it works. Or it might just come out in court. Whatever. If there's actually footage to begin with. But don't make it seem like, oh, well, you know, if there is footage, because we haven't seen it, I'm just going to assume that he's guilty. Like, you see the flip-flopping and bullshitting these motherfuckers try to do to backtrack some shit?
There's a couple of arguments. If the footage exonerated Carmelo Anthony, or at least made him look good in any way, why isn't it being released? Perhaps you'd argue the family doesn't have access to it. Okay. Why isn't the family advocating for the release of the footage to the public to prove his innocence? Interesting. And then you have the police likely reviewed all video footage of the incident when they made their arrest, or the detectives did. Now, the initial police reports don't mention this, but I'm sure the detectives actually just looked at the video footage and said, this guy did.
Or maybe there's video footage and they know damn well once that shit comes out, there's going to be hell that breaks loose up in Frisco, Texas, because that boy is still sitting in the cage. Maybe that's why they dropped $750,000 off of his fucking bond. You know? Maybe that's why. You ever think about that? It's like, you know what? Whatever. We still gonna have to try him. But we don't need no riots out here. At least not sooner than we need in order to get this shit ready. So we're gonna keep this shit under wraps. Because if that footage comes out and the only thing that you can see from whatever angle underneath that tent, whatever the case may be, if the only thing that you can see is a large Caucasian boy pushing and shoving 130-pound melanated young boy, hey, and then you just see one of them falling, it might not look too good for the prosecution. And none of these families are advocating for the well, I think the Anthony family is saying that when people see the footage, they a lot of people will change their minds, but I don't think they've really said much else, you know, other than that. So they say that the footage helps their case. That's what they say. But I mean, that's what everybody's supposed to say. Like, everybody's supposed to say that. You haven't heard any attorney say any shit like that. But we are going to check out the Law and Crimes Network, see what it is that they have to say. But I refuse to believe that because a bunch of random motherfuckers on the internet have not seen this footage, means that it must be further incriminating. Like, we know what happened. He stabbed somebody in the chest. Like, I don't know why people are bullshitting. Like, there's a chance that we might look at the damn footage and it's not gonna show him stabbing somebody in the fucking chest. Like, that shit happened. We know that. We know that he did it, and therefore he's gonna stand trial for that shit. No, at the same time, like, we all know that. You've known that, Mr. Poole. The question is, does he have a case for self-defense? And was $1 million bond justified? You know? Like, for real. Now, whether or not he has a case for self-defense, his lawyers will make that around the time of trial. Understandable. But as far as was $1 million bond justified? Man, the answer is fucking no. That boy was 17 years old. Okay, 17 years old, a high school student, a part-time job, an athlete, whatever. My point is this: he's not a risk. He don't have no passport, probably doesn't even have a fucking driver's license, no resources. He's not a man of means or any of that other shit. And everybody within what 200-300 miles of him has probably seen nothing but his face all over the news. Where the fuck is he gonna go? And he could probably count on one hand the amount of times he's been out of Texas. So is $1 million bond really justified in this situation? No, it fucking wasn't. You know, the question is, if it wasn't justified, why the hell was it $1 million bond in the first place? So you can listen to Tim Pool. He's kind of putting the wording in there. He knows what the fuck is up. That's why he said this whole thing is going to fall on racial lines. Because he already sees it. You know? And you can say whatever you want about the court of public opinion. They already tried to railroad that boy to begin with.
Did it. Now, we don't know exactly all the details, but we do know there is video footage. And there is a lot of speculation in this regard.
Megyn Kelly is a fucking nut job. She's the same chick. That made sure she gave a disclaimer on Fox News saying, kids, relax. Don't worry about what he just said. God was white. That's what she said. God was white. Said that. Then she don't work on Fox no more. Came on ABC or whatever fucking network that was and said that she used to trick or treat, ring people's doorbells wearing blackface for Halloween. All the kids did it. That's that bitch, bro. Nobody listen to no motherfucking Megyn Kelly. You know what I'm saying? That's why she's podcasting and shit. You know? Why she's podcasting. I mean, every opportunity after fucking it up. But that's one of those people. That's one of those people that's going to go to fuck off on Tim Pool because at the same time, Megyn Kelly ain't going to flip-flop. Say whatever you want. You know? She understands what that whole right-wing conservative side and all of that other shit, what it actually fucking represents. She knows what the fuck is up. When it goes back to it, it's us versus them. You know? So you can side with the motherfuckers if you want to on everything, but trust me, at least Megyn Kelly stay on motherfucking code. You know what I'm saying? She stay on motherfucking code. You know? That's why she ain't getting backlash from these motherfuckers right now. He is.
As to what this means. And so I'll just say it. You know, for all of you guys that are, it's a very heated issue. The current political climate and law suggests this is first-degree murder. That's it. And I will stress this too. And I again, I know a lot of people are getting angry about this, but understand the purpose of understanding this argument is to arm yourself with information to counter the left. There is an argument of self-defense, which is disqualified because of the escalation of force. You are allowed to defend yourself in Texas. You could actually be in the process of defending yourself, which is justified in the court's mind, and then it becomes murder because you used a disproportionate amount of force. So I don't think that they're going to have a strong argument. However, that being said, guys, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to scream to the high heavens. This looks unscrupulous. Using the money raised to buy yourself a new house. They got their bond. Listen, this is the problem. Their bond was lowered under the argument that we can't afford $250,000 bond, of which you probably only put up 10%. The judge actually asked, why can't you use the $400,000 you got from Give Said to Go?
All right. And they going to answer. And the answer must have been sufficient. But notice what he says the answer is. I don't think this would be sufficient for any fucking judge. But, hey, that's the things these motherfuckers will say to save themselves and their audience.
Fighting a sneeze. And they said, we don't have access to it. Then they announced, actually, we're going to buy a new house. We're going to buy a new house. I'm sorry, that looks unscrupulous. There are moves that you got to make when you're navigating PR, and they are not acting like victims in this regard. They are not acting like this kid was being bullied. They're acting like they're going to get away with it, and they're going to get money from it. Now, my position largely, which I, again, don't respect people taking out of context, was the family will make a self-defense argument, to which I said this looks like manslaughter or second-degree murder. However, that law is largely based on Illinois or New York law, which has premeditation as a pretext for first-degree murder. So that was incorrect. I was wrong about that. It looks like, again, when you pull up the law, reckless actions which result in death is first-degree murder. And I will say it again. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is important because this case is going to get nuts. I genuinely believe that if the video footage was exculpatory, the family would be doing a press conference right now saying, please release the footage. That'll prove it. But they're not. Now, there are some rumors that footage exists that's been going around. And there's rumors as what is on tape. I don't think it proves anything. I'm not going to report anything because, rumors are rumors. But I do want to stress that, a lot of people are saying he was trespassing. He wasn't, and this is important. There were 6 high schools that were there, not 2. At least 6, maybe more. The police report says that he was friends with one of the people at Memorial High School, which probably explains why he was there. But we don't know. We don't. All we know is that this looks like BLM all over again. Taking the money and buying houses. The family of the teen accused in the stabbing incident, stabbing of a student athlete, had track meet plans to shell out in a new home and security to protect the alleged murderer after he was released from jail. Carmelo Anthony walked out of jail silently surrounded by his family on Monday, who posted his $250,000 bond after a judge agreed to lower it to $1 million. So here's the big issue. I would argue that I don't believe I'm wrong on the facts. I believe that I have interpreted the police report correctly as I have. But I was wrong on the degrees of
backtrack some more.
Now, the left is arguing this was self-defense, and they've argued wrongfully that Anthony was a bully. The reason that's wrong is because both families, I believe.
See what I'm saying? And this ain't even supposed to be a left-wing, right-wing fucking issue. The left is arguing. Get the fuck out of here. Notice that shit, man. Because the motherfuckers is on X right now telling this motherfucker straight. They're not even asking him, just telling him, yo, whose side are you on? Phrasing a question as a statement. Whose side are you on? You with the left or you with us? Caucasian boy was stabbed in the chest. That's it. By a dude with melanin. Nah, man. It's us versus them. That's their right wing versus left wing narrative. And they will push it. That's why you see these motherfuckers backtracking.
Have acknowledged now that neither of these individuals knew each other. In which case, you simply have a story of a dude was under a tent in a public place. He wasn't trespassing. He was asked. No,
they said they didn't have access to it. They said they are going to buy a house and move, but they didn't say they're using the money for that. No, but we'll get further into that because we're just about done with this whole Tim Pool tap dance.
To leave, and this led to an altercation. He was shoved. Texas law and precedent, as I've gone through, doesn't allow you to use lethal force in that circumstance. There are some arguments to be made as to where he could have asserted self-defense, but it seems like he will lose on those grounds. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that people are saying there's no argument of self-defense. Of course there is. It's just slim and unlikely to be to succeed. But I'll say this. I don't think anyone's getting a fair trial here. And what I mean is, with Derek Chauvin and the far left showing up and threatening the jury indirectly, what do you think is going to happen? All that matters is this. These people have done nothing to endear themselves to the public at large. And I'm the person who's actually getting a lot of flack from the conservatives. So let me say this to all the pro Carmelo Anthony people.
One more time. He said he's getting all the flack from the conservatives. He's pissed because he's getting annoyed. His shit binging off the fucking hook. People probably with his personal number is hitting him up like crazy. You know, from his troll accounts, all of that.
Showing up and threatening the jury indirectly. What do you think is going to happen? All that matters is this. These people have done nothing to endear themselves to the public at large. And I'm the person who's actually getting a lot of flack from the conservatives. So let me say this to all the pro Carmelo Anthony people. Over the past week, I maintained my position, but I also admit I was incorrect on Texas law. I was wrong about that. And upon a conversation with Jack Posobiec, we looked it up, and I was incorrect. There is no lesser degrees of murder on this. The reckless act is itself first-degree murder. It's kind of surprising to me. I figured Texas would be more broad on stand your ground. Stand your ground states that Carmelo didn't have to leave. He was in a public place. He was not trespassing. He was friends with one of the Memorial High School members. However, he escalated the situation. And that's where he's going to lose his self-defense claim. To the left, it's arguing everyone on the right is just being racist or whatever. Well, that argument don't work on me because I'm just going by the merits of the case and how y'all are responding to this. Buying a new house with security? No, absolutely not. Security, fine. A new house? No. They're profiting off of this and they're using it for personal enrichment. They could have used that money. They could have put that up as collateral for bond and said the funds are available. They said they couldn't. You could put up a collateral. You can say the money is made available. We will, we could relinquish control of that for bond to a certain degree or whatever. There's a lot of things they could do, or at least argue to do. And they could be arguing for the release of footage, which would prove innocence. They're not doing that either. I think the public actions here show that this
How the fuck does footage prove innocence? You telling me that footage would come out and these motherfuckers would forego jury selection and a trial and all that shit on some shit like it was with Kobe Bryant? Like, yeah, man, we found all these other motherfuckers up in our drawers and then none of them was you. Yeah, case dismissed. No, it ain't even gonna be no shit like that. Like, get the fuck out of here. There's nothing that you guys can show that's gonna keep that boy from standing trial. So miss me with the bullshit. Well, but like I said, he has to say whatever he can to sway and appease his audience.
Likely was an unreasonable escalation of force. And though stand your ground does play, he was not charged on the felony murder rule, meaning it was not illegal to have the knife.
And that's a fact.
What it appears. A lot of people are arguing that he couldn't have the knife. That's why it's murder. No, it's murder because in Texas, it's first-degree murder if you act recklessly in a way that can result in death and someone dies.
I said that. I was like, yo, I said that off rip when they said $1 million. I'm like, man, you might want to sit up in that motherfucker, man, on some Monopoly shit, yo. Like, for real, I'll just sit in jail, collect rent, dog. I'm a little broke, at the moment. At least when I'm in here, I ain't got to worry about landing on nobody's property. Like, straight the fuck up. Why bond it? You're going to need that money in legal fees. You need the best attorneys money can buy. Real shit. And sometimes if they do need security in order to make sure that their kid stays out of trouble and also stays safe, sometimes buying the house is new security. So, that is what it is. You got to, that's what the hell his parents decided to do. That's what the fuck they decided to do. Maybe the neighborhood wasn't safe.
That was surprising to me upon fact checking. And, I could be wrong, but I will say we're going to debate this on Friday with a handful of people. So we'll go over it. In the meantime, let me just add to this. The dude is doing nothing to endear himself to even skeptics. To even,
for real.
I was saying,
that's some bullshit,
the facts we don't know. Then I see people buying a house with the money, and I'm like, okay, these people, again, have no scruples and care not.
I'm pretty sure they haven't selected, you know what I'm saying? They haven't done jury selection yet. I'm pretty sure.
For what's going on. But either way, this one's going to fall on racial lines, man. I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, just like you said, this is going to fall on racial lines. He knows what the fuck it is. You know what I'm saying? You know exactly what the fuck it is. And for him to just be able to say this shit just like this on here, Man, come on. But let's listen to a few of the facts. Matter of fact, let's go back to this house thing. This house thing right here. And then I saw something with the judge, right? The judge was being harassed. But we're gonna go back to this house thing.
You're tuning into On Our Hands. As you guys know, Carmelo Anthony was actually
Shout out to
released
Black
from
and White
jail
Sports.
yesterday. He's been put on house arrest. I mean, this young man has been charged with first-degree murder. He's looking at decades in prison. Nobody actually buys that his self-defense claim. Nobody does. The evidence so far does not
Beef
point
Sector
towards
Podcast. What up? What up? What up?
defense. Okay. But he's going to be on house arrest until whenever the trial actually does happen. Not really sure when that's going to happen. It's actually pretty early, probably sometime later on this year is actually what I'm anticipating. But folks, we all know that Carmelo Anthony's family has
Hey, that's what they gotta say to try to make it seem, you know what I'm saying? They gotta try to demonize the family. That's why I didn't fall for that shit even on the other side when they said something about, oh well, you know what I'm saying, the victim, the Austin dude, his father, you know, was convicted of, like, you know what I'm saying, an SA offense or something like that, and that's why he couldn't have his kids. I was like, what the fuck's that got to do with anything, man? Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, I'm not getting into all of that shit, but people they don't know if he's using the GoFundMe, give send go money to buy a house. They don't. They just saying that shit to try to, you know, keep up with that right wing agenda. You got to demonize a motherfucker. It's just like when they show you those pictures. You know, and they said it was biased on both sides. I didn't give a fuck. One of my thumbnails had that shit too. Look, I'm gonna have old boys yearbook photo right next to them two boys holding SKs and ARs and shit. Whatever. Same way other motherfuckers have these boys football photos. They have their yearbook photos next to his mugshot. Like, that's what it is. You got to try to, you know, create. You got to paint the picture for the audience.
has raised over $400,000 after their son killed the football player and a track star, Austin Metcalf, in Frisco. And they told the judge they could not use that money to bail him out on a $1 million bond. Now, they only have to put down 10%. So essentially, guys, Carmelo Anthony.
You know what I'm saying? People be talking the dumbest shit. They don't be knowing what the fuck they talking about, bro. You don't have to just put down 10%. You only have to put down 10% of $5,000, $10,000, sometimes $25,000 or $50,000 bond. Once you start getting up in the six-figure range and shit like that, you're gonna have to put up some kind of surety along with some kind of collateral to cover the rest of that shit, just in case you don't show up to fucking court. Okay, so his family can have $100,000 in cash somehow, some way. That is not always going to guarantee $1 million bond posted for your ass by a bail bondsman. All right. So when people say stupid shit like all you need is 10%, I don't know what the fuck world that they're talking about. And then it's going to be fees on top of that. And even if it was just 10%, that money is gone. Because you don't get that. You don't get a bondsman fee back when you show up to court. That's the bondsman's fee. So at that point, they would have had to have $100,000 in cash right there. The man just said he don't have access to it. So the shit these people say, man. But if I misquoted, we're going to let him spin it again. And I fucks with Black and White Sports because he's got some good takes on sports. I've been fucking around in the sports sector. So he's got some good takes on sports. But right here, it's like, man, no.
Use that money to bail him out on a $1 million bond.
What's up, Neo?
Now, they only have to put down 10%. So essentially, guys, Carmelo Anthony got out of jail for just out track star Austin Metcalf in Frisco. And they told the judge they could not use that money to bail him out on a $1 million bond. Now, they only have to put down 10%. So essentially, guys, Carmelo Anthony got out of jail for just $25,000. Yes, some woke judge decided, you know what? Let's let this young man out. He's facing capital murder. And it's not.
Yeah. You really think that they just got out for just $25,000, no extra fees, didn't have to put up no collateral, or the signature had to be worth something? That's what the surety bond is all about. Somebody else is on the hook just in case you don't fucking show up. So I don't know what type of families these motherfuckers grew up with, but hey, I'm gonna keep it 100. Had some shit like this happen to me at 17, I'm pretty sure I would have had to sit in jail, even with $250,000. If I only had to put up 10%, I would have had to sit in jail for at least a motherfucking week, just like he did, before a motherfucker come up with my damn 25 grand. I'm just being real. It wouldn't have been some overnight, boom, you're good, get him out. Shit, it took a minute. Okay, so the shit they be talking, yeah, their house can be put up as collateral if they own the damn house. So maybe that's another reason why they had to go buy a house. You never know. You know?
Not looking good for him whatsoever. Not at all. But folks, we got some information now, guys. I didn't know this until like minutes ago, really. Folks, his family now, in my opinion anyway, has a BLM type of scheme. Now, of course, you guys know during 2020, BLM raised all this money, right? Something like millions and millions of dollars. Said, oh, we're going to help the black community. Now the red cent went to the black community. Now you got these race hustlers out there that have donated over $400,000 to this family. And this Give, Send, Go was actually started by Carmelo Anthony's family. Well, folks, they got other plans with this money. Yeah, to me, in my opinion,
other plans. Like, just like I said, you really think this motherfucker's lawyers are working pro bono? They fired 2 lawyers and brought these motherfuckers on. They got that bond dropped $750,000. All right, you think they working pro bono? You think they're gonna sit there and keep on working, knowing damn well that their payday at the end of this shit is just being pissed away right in front of them? No, they know their money's there. So miss me with the bullshit. That money was raised for that boy's legal fees, and that's what it looks like is going down. But hey, he's got to stand trial. He will stand trial, but they want to make sure he's going to stand fucking trial. So if the family believes in order to make sure that he's safe, they got to get the hell up out of that little neighborhood they're in, okay? And make sure the shit is secure, meaning they got to have a gate, they got to have cameras and probably a guard or 2, because their son is going to be in the house 24/7. Then that's what the family decided. Fuck up out of here, man. Even Tim Pool talking about, security, yes, new house, no. Fuck out of here, bro. Sometimes it's less expensive to buy a new house than it is to get a security team if you in some shitty ass neighborhood where they got to watch you from damn 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 different fucking angles, because you got people all around you. You got people above you, you got people beneath you, you got people to the left of you, to the right of you, to the north of you, to the south of you, to the east of you, to the west of you, all of that shit, man. And now you got they said that the address got leaked online. So come on. You know? They spinning a bunch of bullshit and bullshit narratives. I personally don't give a shit if they buy a house. If that's what they felt like they had to do to make sure their son is safe until and while he's standing trial, then yeah, that's what the fuck they had to do.
Man, they have schemed people out of that money. Let's go ahead and look at this, guys. Here we go. Right over here. family of killer Carmelo Anthony to buy a new house. And security would donated $430,000 as he's freed in Austin Metcalf murder. Wow. So they're capitalizing, folks. They are now using blood money to buy a new house. This is unreal, man. Absolutely unreal.
Man, they probably renting that damn house. You don't know. Fuck up out of here.
Says here, the family of the teen accused of stabbing a student athlete to death at a track meet plans to shell out on a new home and security to protect the alleged murderer after he was released from jail.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Carmelo Anthony walked out of jail silently, surrounded by his family on Monday, who posted his $250,000 bond after a judge agreed to lower it from $1 million. And you guys can actually see on Carmelo Anthony right there in that photo right there. And of course, there's Austin Metcalf right there. Rest in peace. It says Anthony is charged with fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the stands at a track meet on April 2nd. He is now on house arrest, where he'll be required to wear an ankle monitor and stay inside his parents' home. Over $420,000 has been donated to Anthony's family in an online fundraiser.
But I'm like, yo, this ain't even a black-white issue, you know, right here. This is not a black-white issue. I'm just saying, I mean, the justice system, their symbol is supposed to be a chick blindfolded and the scales of justice. Like, you're supposed to be blindfolded. It's not even supposed to be, you're not even supposed to see color. You're not supposed to see tax bracket, you know, financial status and all of that other stuff. You're not supposed to see that. So I'm like, y'all are mad that he posted bond. Y'all are mad that he's, you know, that his family's doing what they got to do to make sure he's safe. They mad that he fired his damn lawyers and hired some good ones. They mad about every damn thing. It's like, damn, man, the boy didn't even stand trial yet. They're going to be real mad if he walks out of that damn courtroom free as a bird. But real shit, that's the legal system. We didn't create it. Just like people are pissed off that they raised $400,000. The target was $1 million. The target was $1 million. They mad that they raised $400,000 of that. And why was the target $1 million? Because your fucking judge made it $1 million. It's like you can't win for losing. It's like, damn. And they bullshit came and bit them in the ass, you know. Now they gave them the legitimate $500,000 or 400,000 bond or whatever, or even just 250,000 bond, they probably wouldn't even raise that much damn money. They probably wouldn't even raise that much money, and all of this stuff wouldn't have had all that damn attention. But because y'all made it $1 million, damn, they just raised 400,000. Like, fuck it. You know? Hell, well, you need at least $1 million just to get out. Oh.
Razor for the alleged killer. Not even alleged. He
So
actually admitted
all
he
of
did
this, and they don't even realize
After
how
he-
that shit works. The media works like the exact opposite of the way that shit used to work nowadays. And they should have learned this shit with Donald Trump. You try to crucify a motherfucker in public, you turn him into the hero. You turn him into the star of the show. That's what they're doing. Now everybody is doing everything that they can to try to see this shit from every angle and see where there could possibly be a means for like a case for self-defense. Like, people are actually trying to see that. So with them trying to crucify him in public, all it's doing is putting the public on his side. You know? If they'd have stopped with all the railroading and all of that other shit, just like what else? Before I go back into this clip, I'll compare it to like the OJ case. You know, Now, of course, there's a lot of evidence, one way or another, but a bunch of that evidence was tampered with, bro. Like a lot of it was tampered with. So it got thrown out. And for the most part, that's why that man walked right out of that courtroom. You know? So these motherfuckers trying to do all this extra shit to get that man locked up is the reason why he walked free. And you might just see some shit like that happen here.
He reportedly faced racist threats following Metcalf's murder. Yeah, we've seen no proof that actually happened. But hey, when you actually claim racism, then people give you money. And now they're going to buy a new home. You guys see how this actually works now? During the judge's ruling on Monday, prosecutors asked Anthony's dad why he couldn't use the donated money to pay the original bond to release his son from jail. Andrew Anthony responded that the money was going to be used for his son's legal defense. He also said the cash would be used for security to protect Anthony after he reportedly received racist threats.
Since called it, we on lock. Now I don't hear him saying nothing about buying a new house, but we'll listen more.
It's a stabbing. Andrew also said the family plans to move into a new house for extra safety. Yeah.
Moving into a new house does not mean that they're buying a new house. Like, it means that they're moving. Like, come on. And it makes sense. They're going to have to house themselves and their security. Right?
Defense attorneys insisted the money raised online, quote, is not a bond fund, and that the family needs the funds to get by because...
No, for the most part, this is a sports channel, so I watch it for the sports takes. Choco Kitty. I watch sports. You know, I be in the sports sector. So I like black and white sports for that reason. But he he reports on stuff like that. They kind of all do, but...
Anthony's dad is currently on leave from his job. How long is he actually going to be on leave? I'm very curious about that. Quote,
I'll tell you how long he's going to be on leave. He ain't coming back. They say he's like a finance manager at a car dealership or something. He's going to be on leave permanently. There's no reason for him to come back, but they can't fire him. They can't fire him because they really don't have any grounds to legitimately fire him. So they're going to give him a severance pay. You know what I'm saying? He'll be on paid leave for probably about somewhere between 3 and 6 months. It'll be generous. And that's it. That's it. We're parting ways. And that's probably enough to buy his ass a house. You know? But they can't have him working there, especially if it's a car dealership. You know? It's bad for business. So they can compensate him. You're going to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You have a nice day.
This family needs to be able to survive. Defense attorney Mike Howard said, according to Fox affiliate KDFW. Well, guess what? The Metcalf family needs their son back. It's not going to happen. Quote, there's been a tremendous amount of pressure. I think at this point, living in a gated community, given everything, the safety of their younger children is very warranted. Security details in criminal defense are not cheap. Megan Metcalf, Austin's mom, put her head down and cried when a judge ruled to reduce Anthony's bond on Monday. Anthony's lawyers originally asked prosecutors to reduce his bond to $150,000.
Damn right. They came in there. Hey, they was like, "Fuck it, bring that $1 million is stupid. Make it 150." And then judge like 250, bro. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Like they in there making deals. Y'all remember that movie Lincoln Lawyer? That's the fuck it is, man. They make a deal, bitch. You pay me, I get you out. That's how it gets down. That's how we get down. You know?
Dollars saying $1 million was too high because teen had never been in trouble before. Well, he killed a person. He cold-blooded killed Austin Metcalf. While prosecutors have charged Anthony with first-degree murder, the alleged killer is insisting he stabbed Metcalf in self-defense. Anthony took out a knife and stabbed Metcalf in the chest during a fight in the stands of a stadium in Frisco, Texas on April 2nd, cop said. Actually, I'm not even sure if it's actually a fight. Okay? Because the only thing we're really hearing, guys, is that Austin Metcalf, one son, Carmelo Anthony, instigated all this. He said,
damn, dog. Like, yeah, bro, they gonna come and shoot, bro. So you're about to hear a serious a serious skew of the facts, right here. Because hey, now, was his response proportionate to the threat or even perceived threat? I would say no. Being asked to move, being pushed or whatever. There was actually a case that was made, earlier that I'm going to allude to, where there is a chance that shit could be proportionate. And I'll explain it a little bit later. But as it stands, if it's just one-on-one right there and it's a little bit of pushing, please move. No, stabbing the kid in the chest is not proportionate by Texas state law. I would agree on that if anybody says that. But to say that he instigated the whole thing while he's sitting there by himself or with a friend and then being told to move by somebody that doesn't even fucking work there and then being physically assaulted by that person, that's instigating get the fuck out of here.
touch me and see what happens. And then apparently Austin Metcalf either touched him or pushed him, something like that.
I told you, they these newborn conservatives, so they just got to say outrageous shit, or else there's a chance they may lose their fucking audience. No, they're newborns. They're babies. They don't know how to just shut the fuck up about certain shit or toe the fucking line. Real shit. They don't know how to just go full Megyn Kelly or Matt Walsh or whatever, or Nick Fuentes or Richard Spencer or whatever, just go full out with it or shut the fuck up when it comes to shit like this. That's it. They don't know. They newborn. They don't understand the politics of politics. They don't understand that shit yet. They'll learn.
And then,
and I'm gonna tell you why they
Anthony
learn.
Pulls out the knife.
They damn sure gonna learn within the next probably about 4 years from now, when they don't have a fucking Donald Trump to lean on. You'll see what's up. Because that was an easy. Let's keep it real. That was an easy train to get behind or to get on. That was an easy one. Okay? It was easy. He was already a celebrity, all that shit. We'll see what happens next time when y'all motherfuckers actually got to debate some real fucking issues.
And stabs Austin Metcalf in the chest. Yeah, doesn't sound like self-defense. Doesn't sound like self-defense whatsoever. And now his family is...
Hey, I think Candace did like one video. And then it's like, man, fuck that. She knew to just shut the fuck up about that shit, man. For real. It's not even important. She'll find something boring to talk about. Whatever. She'll come back when she gets something good. You know how to toe the line with this shit. She's gonna say whatever that shouldn't have happened. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. The legal system will take care of it.
Cashing in bit time. Now they're gonna get a new home. A new home.
A new house.
This is shameful, man. This is really, really shameful right here. Austin Metcalf is dead. Killed by their son. And now they're cashing in. They started this give, send, go. And now they're going to buy a new home with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely pathetic, man. I thought that money was really just going to go to legal defense. But oh no, we got to buy a house too. Yeah, this definitely stinks of like a BLM scheme, in my opinion. But man, I'm gonna leave right there, guys. Boy, this is absolutely insane, man.
Yeah, shit happens. Kind of is what it is. All right. So we're gonna hear about what's going on with that judge. They're saying that the judge is under attack.
Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now, today's going to be a follow-up video to one I dropped last night entitled Carmelo Anthony Gets House Arrest After Bail Reduction. Now, in that video, we touched on some of the most recent developments. And if you remember towards the end of the video, I had spoke on the fact that while, yes, it's great news that the young brother was able to be released and fight his case from outside. But one thing we have to take into account is the safety of his family. Because one thing that was revealed during the court hearing was the fact that the family at this moment in time, unfortunately, is forced to take certain precautions to ensure their safety due to certain violent threats they have received. Now, keep in mind, these are the same individuals that will try to lecture you about disproportionate force and say that you must use the appropriate level of force when you retaliate or when you defend yourself. But they also believe that it's appropriate to target an entire family for violence. And in their
And they also thought it was appropriate to get that boy $1 million fucking bond at age 17. At age 17 with no damn resources and you ain't no rich kid or none of that shit, like no passport, none of that shit, $1 million fucking bond. Is that shit proportionate? Fuck out of here. You know? No, that's been a question for a long time. You got jails and shit full of motherfuckers that just can't afford to pay the damn bond. You know? So the cash bond system can, yes, it's extremely culturally biased because you're saying if he was a rich kid, he would have just posted $1 million bond and got the fuck out. But because he's not rich, if he weren't living in the day and age where shit like this goes viral and there's GoFundMe's and Gibson Goes and all of that other shit, and he was able to fire his original lawyers and get a new lawyer that was able to get $750,000 taken off of that motherfucker, he's got to sit in jail. You know? But everything's got to be proportionate. You know? But $1 million bond is proportionate. Get the fuck out of here.
mind, that's not disproportionate force. But anyways, not only is the family, Carmelo's family, receiving threats and certain levels of harassment, but also the judge in the case herself, right? The judge that actually lowered his bail and released him on house arrest, she's also now the target of similar harassment. I believe that her address has been leaked, and not only her home address, but also her office address, her place of work. That address has also been leaked. Now, keep in mind.
See that shit? They done dropped the judge's addy. What's up, Angelica? They done dropped the judge's addy. Work addy, home addy, all of that. A-Dub, what up, what up? You know? They don't like the fact that this boy got bond. Like, damn. Damn. Like a jury's going to decide, and depending on how the jury decides, the judge is going to determine sentencing. Like, that's going to happen no matter what. These motherfuckers are pissed off and threatening motherfuckers over bond and fundraisers.
These are the same individuals that love talking about freedom and liberty and the Constitution and the sacred right of self-defense and all that nonsense. But like I said in my last video, these guys have no set ideology. They'll betray their own ideology depending on the situation. So now, because the judge made a decision that you don't like, now you want to leak her address and put her in the line of danger. Now it's no longer about law and order. What happened to law and order, right? What happened to the Constitution? What happened to freedom and liberties and everybody getting their day in court? Like I said, man, we don't take these people serious. But anyways.
That shit was okay when it catered to people with money and fucked over people without it. That's what I mean. That shit was A-okay. You know, when these motherfuckers just have their day in court and just walk the fuck out because they felt like their lives were in danger, they feared for their lives and all of that other shit, just walk out because what they did was in self-defense and shit. It's okay. They understand what's going on. Blue lives matter. Well, you know, in a court of law, this is what happened. Okay, that's it. This is the same shit. In a court of law, this is what happened.
Let's jump
It ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun, huh?
into some of these articles. Take a look up on the screen. After hearing testimony from Anthony's parents and considering other factors, including the defendant's age, lack of past criminal history, and ties to the community, the judge reduced the bond from $1 million to $250,000.
That's it. The defendant's age, lack of past criminal history, and ties to the community. $1 million went down to $250K.
Anthony's defense attorney, Mike Howard, had asked the court to lower the bond to $150,000. But after the hearing, he stated to the press that he thought the judge's ruling was fair. The family needs to be able to survive. There's been tremendous amount of pressure. I think at this point, living in a gated community, the safety of the younger children is very warranted. Security details and criminal defenses are not cheap. Now, that was the statement given by the lawyer, Carmelo Anthony's lawyer. Now, a lot of people think that the money raised in donations was going towards the bail, but actually that's going to supporting the family as well as a legal defense, because currently I believe the father, he's on leave, and the father is the sole provider for the family, right? Father paying all the bills, mom staying at home taking care of the kids. So now the father, due to the fact that he can't really go to work because due to security reasons, right? A lot of violent threats against his life and his family's life. So we had to move the family.
I gotta stay with his damn son. You know, and his son can't leave the house. So that's it.
Undisclosed location, and he can't really work right now. So the money raised in donations is not only going to a legal defense, but also to support the family during this time while they fight the case. Now, let's continue. During the hearing, Judge Angela Tucker said the court had never had the security issues that it faced with this case.
What's up,
right? So, like I said, man, unfortunately, Carmelo's family, they had to move to a different spot because it's a lot of uncivilized baboons in society that want to do violence to the family, right? And not only violence to the family, but also harassing the judge in this case as well. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This lady said, "It looks like they raised enough money to buy him a suit so he doesn't look like the thug that he truly is. I pray that he gets life in prison." Now, they still trying to act like Carmelo is some unfortunate youth from the project buildings. Listen, during the court case, they already pretty much exposed the father's financial records, basically revealed that he is the sole provider for the family, paying all the bills, upper middle class black family, right? So brothers like that, Carmelo Anthony, I guarantee he probably grew up with a collection of suits. You see, brothers like that, we grew up since the day we like 5-6 years old. We got a whole collection of suits. We grew up rocking suit and ties. We've been getting fresh, right? So I want to ask her, does her husband pay all the bills, right? The man that she living with, does he provide a level of lifestyle that is similar to what Carmelo's father provided for his wife and his kids? I would love to ask, man, the way these folks talk so inflammatory, right? If you go digging in her background, you're probably gonna find out that she on government assistance. Because the way these white Americans love to project onto other people, the same way they tried to project onto Carmelo, and all those negative stereotypes actually applied to Austin instead. It was Austin that came from a broken home and a criminal father, right? So, like I said, man, you cannot take these people serious.
Yeah, but I'm also like, I don't think it's necessary to demonize either of them, you know, Carmelo Anthony or the victim, because let's try not to water down the fact that he did stab somebody in the fucking chest. But and I damn sure don't need to. I don't even want to bring that stuff up because yeah, you can even throw it back the other way. Nah, you know what I'm saying? It was the other kid that came from the broken home and this and that and all of that other stuff. It's just sad, like both ways, every which way. This is a sad fucking story, and it shouldn't have happened. But now this is where we are. You know, my condolences to, you know, the Metcalf family. I get it. Their family wasn't perfect. Their child wasn't perfect. Their children aren't perfect, and neither is this kid right here on the motherfucking screen. And his family likely isn't perfect either. You know, because there's no such thing. There's no such thing. But what each of those families had to go through in the last 2 weeks, it's just rough. And for what this for what this family is currently going through, that being the Anthony family, hey, they got a little help. They got a little help. They got a little help from some activist groups. They got a little help from from just the community, from social media, from people that heard about it, people that wanted to open up their wallets, their pockets and look out like that. That's it. People chose to put their money where their mouth was, make a few phone calls. Attorneys decided to reach out, be made available for it and shit like that. So, that's fortunate right there, but they can still only help but so much. He's still got to stand trial. He's got to stand trial. He's, a jury's going to decide. Lawyers are going to make cases, and if he's found guilty, a judge is going to determine sentencing. Which there are going to be some things that I don't see him beating. Like weapons possession. At least possession of the weapon. Possession of the weapon, and self-defense is a tough one to prove. So the battle is in front of him. It's not behind them. Like, you didn't win anything. So even when they make all of this shit about a fundraiser and bond and stuff like that, it's just people just doing as much as they really could. But right now they understand that this boy has an uphill battle. The least they can do is give him the tools to fight the damn battle. And let's just keep it real. In a situation like this, he'll be lucky to be out by the time he's 30. Like, if they can do something like that, where that boy's 17 years old right now, he can get out, in between 10 and 15 years from now, you might consider that a win. Because this is a fucked up situation. And
serious. These people are not to be taken serious. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, "This is sickening. She needs to be removed from the bench." Right. So he's talking about the judge in this case, because the judge made a decision that he doesn't agree with. She needs to lose her entire career. Right. This is the level of logic we are dealing with in American society in the year 2025. Now let's continue. This person said, "This evil judge deserves to spend the rest of her life in prison for what she did." Right. So now listen, not only should Carmelo go to jail, they believe that the judge herself, she should also join him in the prison cell. Now let's continue. This person said,
because she granted him a 17-year-old that doesn't come from a wealthy family $250,000 bond and house arrest. Isn't that some shit? Isn't that some shit, Glow? She granted a 17-year-old that, yeah, he is about to stand trial for, deletion. Yeah. But you gave him house arrest, an ankle monitor, and $250,000 bond. And this woman should be put under the jail. Appreciate you, Lees.
Witness the C-Walk of the incredible. Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. Keep it gangster.
Appreciate you, Lees. The membership, y'all can follow her lead. Memberships are available. Just $1.99 a month down there. 2-for-1 special at the home of the official YT Purge.
got a black DEI judge. Of course he was getting out. Right. So now they are questioning her competency. They are questioning her credibility. Right. Now let's continue. This person said, this actually ABL. ABL said this: "I guess she's racist because she's black and lowered the bail for someone who you think is guilty." Now, I don't know what got into ABL.
Man, no. ABL is being sarcastic right here. I'm talking about Anthony Brian Logan, right? So This is what Anthony Brian Logan said. I broke down one of his videos the other day because he's saying there's a case for self-defense as well. But he can say that. You know, he's one of those conservatives. They expect him to kind of just be on the side of what he believes is right and wrong, of course, because he's got the complexion for protection right here. But a Tim Pool has to backtrack on the shit he says. He said, I guess she's racist because she's black and lowered the bail for someone who you think is guilty. You know? So they're saying she must be racist. He's being sarcastic.
Yell recently, but you know, ABL definitely shocked his audience with his position on this case, right? Now, there's a lot of black conservatives that's tap dancing, but ABL is actually one of the few that's going against the grain. So that's interesting to me. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, farce of justice. He confessed guilty of sin. When whites start their own municipalities and freely disassociate, don't scratch your head.
Oh,
Now, as you
shit.
can see, white America is throwing a tantrum, right? Instead of teaching their children to keep their hands to themselves, they rather break away and start their own municipalities, right?
Yeah, I'm in this bitch terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it right. I make it right. I'm in this bitch terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it right. I make it right. Make it rain on them hoes. I make it right. I make it right. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it right. I make it right. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it right. I make it right. I make it rain on them hoes. Yeah, I'm in this bitch terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it right. I make it right.
Man, shout out to Lee's with the 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming through with that one. We do appreciate that. We're talking about Carmelo Anthony's bail getting reduced, a judge getting threats, and you got right-wing conservatives either tap dancing or switching their stance when it comes to self-defense. The link should be pinned. If anybody wants to come up, they can comment on this one right here. I think it's just proven that the bond system is culturally biased in a lot of different ways, which is one of the reasons why that bitch was lowered by 75%. $1 million was excessive to begin with. Nobody wanted to talk about that. People want to break down what they believe are the facts in the case when they don't even know all the motherfucking facts or the entire situation. All they know is what the fuck they heard on social media. All I know is $1 million was legit. That shit was up there. It was stuck, and that boy was sitting in motherfucking jail. And if he was a rich kid, he would have got out, which means that shit is culturally fucking biased. Lower that shit, and now he's out. What do you know? Bond is not supposed to be a punishment, and it's not supposed to be weaponized against the people.
Right now, that's fine. You could do that, but I'm just saying it'd probably be easier to just teach your kids to keep their hands to themselves so they can learn to coexist in society with everybody else, right? With everybody else's kids. Wouldn't that be much easier, right? Because I'm never going to let them forget that it was your boy Austin that initiated the verbal altercation that escalated to a physical altercation, which led to him being neutralized, right? So to avoid tragedies like this in the future, just teach your kids to keep their hands to themselves. I don't know why they don't like hearing this, right? They come into my comment section just throwing a tantrum, going off, and all I say is this: keep your hands to yourself, right? And instead of taking my word of advice, they want to debate me. They want to go back and forth. I'm not going back and forth, bro. I'm not here to debate it. That's a declaration. Keep your hands to yourself. Anyway, let's continue.
And that, hey, y'all know that's what I said when I first broke that shit. I was like, man, fuck, man, keep your hand. What in what world is it okay to just touch somebody and think that you can dictate their fucking response? Now I get it. Texas state law says that the response has to be proportionate to the threat and or perceived threat. I get that. But hey, if the boy is being assaulted, he's got a case for self-defense. You know, Weak as it may be, it's a case.
This person said, criminals protecting criminals, empowering criminals, and given a free pass by the DEI judge. Now, keep in mind, I believe the judge herself is a Republican. I believe she herself is a conservative, right?
That shit don't matter. They just said the judge is a DEI hire because she lowered the fucking bond. That's some shit. Because she lowered some bond.
So she probably believes in all the,
How the fuck do you get it? Yeah.
conservative ideology, the right to a fair trial, self-defense, etc., right? But here they are throwing a tantrum, calling her the DEI judge, right? But she's a Republican. She's a conservative. She's one of y'all, right? But like I said, in order to be down with a team, you have to toe the line 100%. You cannot go off script. You cannot go off pattern. You have to stay within the lines and the boundaries. Now let's continue. This person said, how do people like this become judges? It used to be before DEI that you became a judge if you were the top of your class in law school. Now it's the other way around. Now, listen, simply because she made a decision that they disagreed with, they want her removed from the bench. They're calling in the credibility of her as a judge. And now they're trying to say that she didn't get good grades in law school. Now, I never seen her transcripts. I guarantee they never seen her transcripts, and they don't have any proof to support the allegation. But now they're calling in the credibility of her as a judge. Anyway, let's continue. Now, I blocked out her address on this post, but now this was where they actually released her address, and it actually went viral. So, yeah. These are the people that talk about law and order and freedom and liberty, and everybody should have a right to a fair trial, and everybody should bear arms and self-defense and yada, 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 right? But here they are, right? They want her removed from the bench.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure judges are appointed, and then they can be deceased and shit like that, depending on the type of judge. Matter of fact, I take that back. I don't fucking know. I take all that back. Don't quote me.
They want her. Obviously, if you release her address, you obviously want her to be harassed and attacked at her home. These are the individuals we are dealing with that are lecturing us about disproportionate force, right? That's their favorite word nowadays, disproportionate force. But meanwhile, they sending death threats to Carmelo's family. They're releasing the address of the judge on the case. These people are full of crap. These people are full of crap.
The thing is, you should be able to stay a Republican, as far as a conservative or whatever. I mean, you got to understand what the fuck you're jumping in when it comes to that shit. But you should be able to stay, because this is not supposed to be a Republican Democrat thing. The only reason why it was made to be a Republican Democrat thing is because there's a black kid and a white kid. Okay? And conservatives are leaning one way because it is a Caucasian corpse. They've made it about that shit. This is a dust up between two 17-year-olds that escalated and went too fucking far. You know? It's these social media outlets that are making this shit about race.
That's why we don't take them serious. They don't have no ideology. They have no set ideology. They'll betray their own ideology depending on the situation at hand. Anyway, let's continue. As you can see, take a look up on the screen. The judge herself, she had to lock down her account. She had to put her page on private. She had to lock down her social media because I'm sure she's receiving ridiculous death threats in her DMs and all that. I'm already knowing, man. We know how these barbarians get down. Like I said, man, they want to throw a tantrum, start acting like some baboons, man. Anyway, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. In Texas, posting a judge's home address online during a high-profile case is likely illegal under the Texas Penal Code, which prohibits the sharing of personal information with the intent to harm. As judges are public servants, the Texas Penal Code adds protections against actions meant to influence or retaliate. Such an act could be seen as a terroristic threat under the Texas Penal Code, intended to cause fear or disrupt duties. The context and intent matter greatly in determining if it's legally a threat. Now, this person said, The judge who granted Carmelo a reduced bond is a black Republican, but the white nationalists online are calling her the BLM DEI activist judge, right? That's what I'm saying, man. She's a Republican. She's a so-called conservative, but because she didn't throw the book at Carmelo, now they calling her, you know, a BLM, you know, Black Lives Matter, a DEI, affirmative action hire, man. Like I said, man, when you are promoting their narrative, when you are pushing their narrative, when you carrying their water, they love you, man. They love you.
Damn,
Yeah,
got
patting you on
him.
the back, you know, slapping you on the ass. But when you go against the grain, the level of disrespect that gets unleashed is truly impressive. Anyway, let's continue. This person said,
Man, you heard Tim Pool, man, flip flopping and all of that other shit, man. Talk about, I'm getting a lot of flack from conservatives.
my prediction, the jury will be loaded with diversity and he'll get off. Now, this person said, new black suburban, treated like royalty. It sickens my stomach. Now, listen, this dude is mad because Carmelo Anthony got picked up from the courthouse in a Chevy Suburban, right? They jealous of a Chevy Suburban, man. It reminds me back during the time when Trump was running for office. Remember when Trump was talking about the Haitian migrants down in Ohio? I remember watching a video. They were interviewing the locals, and there was this one white lady. She was jealous because one of her Haitian neighbors was driving a Lexus. They was like, man, how do you get a Lexus? How do you get these nice clothes, right? Now, keep in mind, the Lexus was like a 10-year-old Lexus. It came out back in like 2012. It wasn't even a new body Lexus, but they were jealous of an old body Lexus, right? Just seeing a black man in a halfway decent car, even if it's 10 years old, it got him angry. Just like in this case, they seen Carmelo getting picked up in a Chevy Suburban. They acting like it's a Rolls Royce. Like, I don't understand. Was he supposed to hop on the bus and take the bus home? I don't understand it, bro. Was he supposed to ride a bike, take an Uber home from the courthouse? I don't understand it. Why do you get angry from seeing a black man in a Chevy Suburban? Why does that get you angry, man? It reminds me of that lady in the beginning of the video. Remember what she said? She said, oh, look at him. He's wearing a suit. Look at him. He finally got a suit. Why does him wearing a suit and riding in a Chevy Suburban, why does that get you angry? Why does that get you mad? Like I said, man, these people have issues, man. These people.
That's real, though, bro. They got that boy out of jail suited. Like suited.
These people are insane. But anyways, man, I'm not going to be here too long, man. I'm not going to be here too long. Hopefully the judge takes some legal action in regards to those who leaked her address. And hopefully she's taking some precautions for her safety. And also, hopefully, you know, Carmelo Anthony and his family also stay safe. Because as we know, these same individuals who want to lecture you about disproportionate force and they want to say, oh, it should have been a boxing match. It should have been a fist fight. Oh, don't grab a weapon. But these individuals will threaten your whole family, threaten to kill your whole family. But if they attack you, they want a boxing match. They want the respect.
Over a fucking reduced bond. Like real shit, too. Over a reduced bond. But that's the case that can be made. Like this is a world where self-defense might just run. Like it might actually fucking work. And I'm gonna put on an amazing Lucas video in a moment, right? But this is a world where it might just work. Even though the one person may not have been a proportionate threat to that type of force, if he can prove that he felt as though he was under attack by multiple people, like he was under possible attack by multiple people, he might have a case for self-defense. You know, like maybe, I don't know, your identical twin brother that's within about 5 to 6 feet of you. You know, your homies over there, which is likely the reason why you bucked up in the first place. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. But let's hear what Amazing Lucas had to say about that.
Why are they so mad? Oh, my goodness. So if you haven't heard, Carmelo Anthony is home free at last, thanks to a reduced bail. Now, his bail was set at $1 million. And that was absolutely egregious and exorbitant because I just did a video on the little white boy who yeeted his whole family and then tried to yeet Trump, and they set his bail at $1 million. So I don't know how someone trying to yeet and do domestic terrorism and someone arguing self-defense, how those are the same thing. Damn. But thankfully, A judge who had common sense saw that and reduced their bail, I believe, to $250K. And lo and behold, the racists come out. The racists and the Sambo soldiers come out in full force, bruh.
And you know, this is one of those times when I gotta agree with Amazing Lucas again. Just like y'all called it in the chat. We on Lot called it. He's like, motherfucking racist and Sambos and buck dancing motherfuckers and newborn conservatives and shit want to come out and say all of this bullshit.
They are so upset. They are livid. They talking about, oh, she should rot in prison for what she did. Oh, this is horrible. It got so bad that they actually started doxing her. They started harassing.
Nah, the parents are not together. You know, his parents were not together. But I mean, I always say, I'm like, that's irrelevant. You know, that people want to bring up those minor details. I'm like, this, regardless, this is you know, can't help who your parents are. You know.
This female judge. And lo and behold, we come to find out that the judge is black. Oh boy. All these people who say, I don't see color, Lucas. What do you mean? I don't see color. I just see people. That's all I see. I just find it very interesting, you know, how that happens, that switch happens to go on and off whenever it favors him. Because all these white Republicans, all these Sambo soldiers, all these, you know, these imbeciles, these dolts who constantly want to say, I'm not racist, I'm not right. Now they calling her and saying that she did this. She lowered the exorbitant bail simply because she was black. You have to understand, this is the lineage of evil. That's what you really have to understand, bro. All these people come from a lineage of evil. You're telling me that out of all the cases we had, right? Daniel Penny, did you hear one?
That's why you don't join, man. You understand what I'm saying? That's why you can't join a side, because believe it or not, it's like that on both sides. It's just they go about it different ways. But as soon as this shit goes down like this, that's all they see is that prison mentality. They see, hey, I'm black, you're white, whatever. This is it. I'm picking this side. Bam. That's it. You know, right here. And we just like, man, I want to make sure that boy gets a fair trial. Like $1 million was a ridiculous fucking amount, bro. That seems to be like the first step in just some unfairness fuck shit. What's up with $1 million? And sure enough, they lowered it. I didn't think they were gonna lower it that low compared to, man, I thought they might cut it in half, like at best. Man, they knocked 75% off of it. That proves that shit was bullshit.
Black person say, well, it was a white judge who did it. That's why they did it. Did you hear anyone say that? No, of course not. We were just like, hey, that's a miscarriage of justice. I disagree with the outcome, but it is what it is. And when we had Kyle,
it's shame.
And we saw what that judge was doing. Bro, that judge was
for real. Look,
helping
we said this shit when that Pearly Things Nick Fuentes shit popped off. Shout out to Red Supreme, because he was like, this is when you kind of saw who the fuck was who in the space. It's like, bro, I get it. You know, I get it. Like, a lot of these motherfuckers was on their mission and shit. Like, yo, we gonna check some of this fucked up behavior and shit from some of these women. But yo, cooning is not on the menu, motherfucker. Like, we're not going to do that. Like, we're not going to do that. And a lot of these motherfuckers was like, bullshit, the fuck I'm not. Yes, I am. You know?
Did anyone say, hey, it was because he was white? That's why. Bro, the litany of cases. What are we talking about? All these judges. And this is the time they want to blame the judge's skin color, not the merit, not the credentials, right? Because they constantly quoting Martin Luther King. Oh, yeah, I'm going to judge somebody by the contents of their character, not by the color of their skin. Don't know anything else about that entire speech. That's the only thing they know of the entire speech, right? To bastardize King's legacy and to bastardize civil rights and to bastardize Black history in this country. That's the only thing they do. But this black woman, now all of a sudden, she did it because, you know, she was helping out a black boy. That's what they are doing. They're just trying to be a loyalist to their own. And it's like, wait.
I think Nick Fuentes is a fucking weirdo. You know, he's a good speaker. I was saying this on Freezy's the other day. You know, he's good at public speaking, you know, and everything, but other than that, I mean, he's a fucking weirdo, and I think he's full of shit. I don't believe that 30-something-year-old virgin shit. I just don't. That's I don't fuck that. You know, fuck that. Like, what you been living under a fucking rock for the last 30-something years? Hell no.
Let me get this straight. The same group of people
Yeah.
who are constantly talking about, oh, white flight, there's a white racism, right? Reverse racism is racism. Oh, we have the president of the United States talking about, hey, we have to do something about, the hatred towards white people. All of this. Now you telling us that she helped him out because she was black? Bro. And it got so bad that the Sambo soldiers, you had one of these Sambo soldiers talking about, well, it was a woke judge, okay, and it was a lot of pressure on her, and it was a woke judge.
He's claiming self-defense, and now he has been released on bond, okay, because a woke judge and
I was looking for this dude's video too. This is the first time I'm actually watching the Amazing Lucas's video, but I was looking for this dude's video right here because this is another one, right? And Lucas put him on Sambo Vision. Let me bring that shit up, man. This is fucked up. He got the visuals way better than I would even had him. But he got him on Sambo Vision, got the damn, what was old boy's name? Whatever the Sam Jackson character was from Django. This dude has been saying all types of, like, he's another one. Hey, gotta wear a MAGA hat in every fucking video. You know what I'm saying? Trump banner in the backdrop, all of that shit. Gotta do that. Gotta let everybody know that, hey man, I got Trump nuts in my throat. You know what I'm saying? All the way I'm gobbling, gobble ass nigga, man. You know what I'm saying? All that,
There a lot of pressure from
fuck butter biscuits when you can gobble nuts.
The woke activists.
I miss you like a hog miss fly, like a baby miss mammy titty.
Now, y'all know how I feel about the word woke. The right has completely bastardized the word woke, just like the left has bastardized the word woman. Oh. Because everything they don't like is woke. And the irony, y'all ready for the irony? Because none of these people do their due diligence. The irony is that this judge is a Republican. I kid you not. The judge is a registered Republican.
A woke judge.
Make it make sense. This is what I'm talking about. They lash out, bruh. This is what the lineage of evil does. When they don't get their way, they will lash out, as they did with January 6th. They lost and they lashed out. This case, they don't like how it's going. They don't like that the bond was reduced, even though we all know it was exorbitant. They lashed out. Tried attacking her, tried doxing her. Now they call her, oh, she doing it because she's black. Next thing you know, they're going to call it DEI. Now she's woke. All this stuff. And this is how these people handle things.
Too late, Lucas. They already called this chick DEI and all that other shit, too. You know what I'm saying? They already did that. So, yeah, Lucas is right. Right here. Right.
This is how they treat it. They have the mentality and the temperament of a child.
I'm retarded?
So when someone tries to say, hey, we're on the same side, brother. Hey, we're working together. No, we're not. Because I know at the drop of a dime that you will flip on me and sell me out. I know that, bro. I know that because you have a lineage of evil. You have a history of evil. And thanks to the pattern recognition, I can notice you were evil, your granddaddy was evil, his granddaddy was evil, their granddaddy was evil, and the list goes on. So until you break this lineage of evil, I'm sorry. I can't trust anything you say because I know you'll call someone a patriot one day and call them woke the next because you don't like what they say.
He's out of line, but he's right.
The right is gone. They're cooked, they're fried. And only these Sambo soldiers are only making it worse. But the cherry on top is, do you want to know what happens when someone doesn't have an argument? When someone doesn't have a rebuttal, what do? They just laugh. And I want you to see this clip by this Sambo soldier who thinks I don't know what he was doing.
What up, Dark Lake?
But he absolutely makes a fool of himself. It's always going to be a different story than the main story that the racist right tries to promote. Always going to be a different story. When people talk about you can't use lethal force is in the eye of the beholder, right? It's the same thing we have when it comes to an officer, that they fear for their lives. It can't be in hindsight. It has to be taken into account of what happened at that time. So if Anthony is being attacked. He's already been assaulted, and you have two people. It's 2 versus 1. In addition to them being completely outweighed, he's outweighed by them, right? They weigh 200 something pounds or whatnot. Anthony's a very skinny kid. Then yes, a lawyer could absolutely argue that he had reasonable belief that he was going to have not immediate imminent death, because it's not imminent death, but also a serious bodily injury. Those are two factors that come into play. So if he absolutely believes that he's going to incur serious bodily injury, then yeah, pulling out a knife to defend yourself is absolutely reasonable. It's absolutely can be seen as self-defense.
Wow. Honestly, what can you say at this point? I only can laugh. At this point, okay? They don't care. But let me actually stop there. They're not intelligent enough to understand the law, right? But even if they were intelligent enough to understand the law, they don't care to understand the law. They don't want to understand the law. And at this point, they're only defending Carmelo Anthony because he's black.
Like I said, it's got to be proportionate to the threat or perceived threat. Like perceived threat. Yeah. So, like I said, I don't think it's a very strong case because it's still 100 people there. You got a knife. You got to assume that you're likely the only motherfucker with one. It's a tough one. But hey, when you got the best lawyers money can buy, man, they can pull a rabbit out the hat. Or hey, if you're lucky, they might be able to get you to plead down to a second-degree M charge in sudden passion, and then you can get 15 and you out in 12. Might get to spend your 30th home with your family in your new house that they already been able to live in for a decade. But still, you never know. You know?
Now you tell me, did you hear a rebuttal?
Because I'm not gonna lie. The more I'm looking at it, and again, I am not a lawyer. I'm not going to give any legal advice, but think about it. If they can get something worked out where if he just takes a plea, they can get it down to like a second-degree M. In sudden passion, give him 15, and he might get out in 12. Maybe 10. And if they were to offer that, and the alternative is to stay in trial and possibly face like 25 to life, or I'm sorry, what they say, 5 to 99 or whatever. So yeah, you facing 45 or 50. I don't know. Might have to be like, look, man, where do I sign? Type shit.
Did you hear a retort?
Because at the end of the day, you did murk somebody. It is, you did.
Did you hear any type of refutation of what I said? Of course not. Because these are the race baiters.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay? These individuals.
I know it seems like a like far-fetched. I'm just saying, like, if you can work something out where you might, like, you got to plead down, but they can get it down to the second degree, M charge, with the whole sudden passion, thing, throw out the weapon. You get 10 to 15, you're out in 11. That'd be a tough one to say no to when the alternative is to just be judged by 12, like for real. And your only chance is self-defense. You know?
On the right, these Sambo soldiers are the race baiters. They are race baiting their white audience to be upset at something you should not be upset at. Okay, that if the roles were reversed, that it was a little black kid who was died and the kid was white, that they would be arguing self-defense. They even, we know this because it's not even hypothetical. We know this as we saw with
He's right. They sure as hell would. Yeah, they would be arguing self-defense if it were the other way around. But because this is a black kid, hey, you got to put him underneath the jail. And that's, I'm like, you really shouldn't be arguing anything. I would see the case every which way. If I saw it the other, if it was the other way around, I'm like, yo, he put his hands on him. But, the law says it's not proportionate. So, yeah, he's got a case for self-defense because he was assaulted. But, hey, it's a weak case because Texas law says it's got to be proportionate. This is a tough one to prove. But I wish you the best of luck in court because, hey, that's what you're entitled to.
You should not be upset at. Okay, that if the roles were reversed, that it was a little black kid who was died, and the kid was white,
bro, that's a long
they
time,
would be arguing self-defense. We know this because it's not even hypothetical. We know this as we saw with with Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt, they arguing, oh, this shouldn't have happened, and she was in nothing but the wrong. They do this every single time. They were arguing for Dylan Ruth. Heck, they were arguing for the Buffalo shooter. These people are wicked, and you have these Sambo soldiers who are spewing poison to their white audience simply for monetary gain. And it's not doing anything but causing division. That's all he's doing is causing division. What he should be doing is telling the truth that this is self-defense. Because the moment in time where we have Sambo soldiers like this, but Tim Pool is arguing for Carmelo Anthony. We have Anthony Brian Logan.
Not anymore. I just showed that Tim Pool is not arguing for Carmelo Anthony anymore. He is not going to. Okay? He said, fuck that. He don't like the backlash on Twitter. Okay?
Who's arguing for Carmelo Anthony? I mean, you have to see at what point do you just lose your soul, bruh? What does the scripture say? Well, to gain the world but lose your soul. At what point do you have to have some moment of clarity to be like, yo, I'm forgoing all my integrity for $1? As the scripture says, the root of all evil is the love of money, and that's what you have these Sambo soldiers doing. And it seems that they have no bottom to how low they'll go, just to try and tell people, oh, it's the woke activists and the race hustlers, when every accusation is a confession for these people. Damn.
Oh, you must have got in here a little late. I'll bring up the Tim Pool video again. He changed it today. He changed it today. Tim Pool, that is. Yeah, he changed his stance today. Yeah, pretty much. But he somewhat changed it, but didn't change it. He just said he was wrong about Texas state law, and he doesn't like the whole self-defense case anymore. Yeah, blah, blah. He went tap dancing. Tim Pool, that is.
Every accusation is a confession for these people. They constantly want to say they don't see color. Now it's a black judge. They constantly want to say I'm for, self-defense, and that's why you have the Second Amendment. And then when someone utilizes it that is of a different skin color than them, now all of a sudden, oh, he was wrong. He was in the wrong. And they try to frame this and paint this picture of whoever they don't like, which ironically, I don't know, magically happens to be a certain group of people of melanin nature, as evil, as criminals, as monsters. And it's always just a confession.
And what Lucas won't say is, and he knows what the fuck the deal is, these motherfuckers believed that Carmelo Anthony was automatically wrong as soon as he didn't do what Austin Metcalf told him to. Off rip, you're in the fucking wrong. Well, you do as you're told, boy. It wouldn't even got physical if you'd have just moved when he told you to. That's what the fuck they just forget to say that part because they know how fucked up that'll sound. But that's how they feel.
Every accusation is nothing more than a confession for these people. Everything they accuse other people doing, they are guilty of themselves. Anyways, guys, that's a video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you believe Lucas, you just want him free because he's black. Or if you don't believe, you can come to that conclusion if you ignore the facts and the evidence, right? If you ignore the totality of the evidence that we have right now, sure, you can come to that conclusion. If it makes it easier for you to sleep, right? If it makes it easier for you to race bait your audience and say, oh, it's a black judge and they just want him because he's black and all the black, and never make that argument for Daniel Penny, for Kyle Rittenhouse, for the litany of other white individuals that have gotten off or have at least gotten the benefit of being seen in the eyes of the public as innocent until proven guilty. Nevertheless, if you happen to disagree, you know where to find me Friday through Sunday. Disagreement Day. Call in and we will duke it out. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what
The high school athlete accused of stabbing and killing another high school athlete at a track meet in Texas is now out on bond. This is video of Carmelo Anthony leaving the county jail per WFAA in Dallas. A judge lowered his bond by a major amount this week. And a fundraising site has raised more than $416,000 for his legal defense, even after he allegedly told police he did it, leaving a brother to die in his twin's arms after he was allegedly stabbed in the heart. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Cases like the one that we're talking about right now get lives of their own when people use them to talk about issues like self-defense and race in America. That is exactly what's happening in the case of Carmelo Anthony, a high school sports star, now an accused murderer. A judge lowered Anthony's bond from $1 million down to $250,000 this week. This is the new video per WFAA in Dallas of Anthony walking free. He will have to wear a GPS monitor, be on house arrest, check in with the court each week, and if he doesn't do that, he'll go back into custody. We have the probable cause documents from police that lay out what officers say happened when they responded to a high school track meet in the middle of the day on April 2nd for the report of a stabbing. One officer writes that when he first made contact with Anthony and told him to put his hands in the air, Anthony allegedly said, "I was protecting myself." The officer said that Anthony then told him, quote, "He put his hands on me." And when the officer said he had the alleged suspect in custody, Anthony allegedly said, quote, "I'm not alleged, I did it." Several witnesses also came forward to tell police what they saw, and we'll dive into their accounts in just a moment. But I want to first talk about the victim in this case. His name is Austin Metcalf. Metcalf was there to compete in this track meet as well. He was a high school football star in his own right. He was a junior at Frisco's Memorial High School. He was team MVP of the football season last year, and his dad says he had a 4.0 GPA in the classroom, and he was planning on playing college football. And when you look at his social media, you could see he was serious about it. Austin posted multiple pics from recruiting trips to places like the University of Arkansas. That is a big-time Division I school. The suspect, Carmelo Anthony, he was captain of his high school's football team. That was Frisco's Centennial High School, which is just about a 14-minute drive away from where Metcalf went to school. These two schools separated by roughly 7 miles.
Carmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
This is video of Anthony mic'd up at a tournament that he linked to on his X account. On social media, Anthony shows that he was getting offers to play college football. Here are the posts from 2 Division III schools that apparently wanted him on their team. On Anthony's Huddle profile page, which is a social media platform for football players, Anthony made his bio, quote, "God has shown you the right path, just take it." Anthony's path on April 2nd led him to a confrontation with Austin Metcalf that could put him in jail for the rest of his life. So here's what we know based off what police say happened. Multiple schools were competing in this track meet that had to be delayed because of weather. If you've ever run track, typically all the schools involved have their spots around the track where they hang out between events. And in this case, where they were waiting out some weather. Austin's team apparently had a tent and Anthony went under that tent. And somehow words were exchanged and Anthony was told to leave. In the probable cause document, witnesses say Anthony reaches into his bag and says, quote, touch me and see what happens. Austin then touches Anthony to tell him to move. And Anthony then, according to witnesses, says, punch me.
See, this is what the fuck I don't like when they explain this shit. Talking about he touched Anthony to tell him to move. It doesn't even say that in the fucking police report. The police report says no one thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. Okay. Wasn't none of that. He touched it. How the fuck do you touch somebody to tell them to move? I don't have to touch you to tell you to fucking move. Like, that makes no goddamn sense. So just say it what it say, call it what it is. You know, he proceeded to assault Anthony, and then Anthony stabbed him in the chest. That's what the fuck happened. You know, he physically assaulted Anthony, and then Anthony stabbed him in the chest.
And see what happens. Austin then grabbed Anthony again.
Because what the problem is, if they were to actually say it like that, you know, people would understand the situation exactly the way it happened and realize that had Anthony not pulled out that knife and stabbed him in the chest, very easily Austin Metcalf could have ended up arrested for fucking assault and battery. But he's no longer living now, so that's never going to happen. You know, but I've heard that on multiple platforms, and that's how you catch these motherfuckers in they bullshit. Don't listen to what they're trying to tell you, because that's how they spin narratives. Just listen to what the fuck they're saying. He proceeded to touch him to tell him to move. How the fuck do you touch somebody to tell them to move? I've never had to touch anyone to tell them to move ever. Okay? It's bullshit. Listen to this.
That tent, and somehow words were exchanged and Anthony was told to leave. In the probable cause document, witnesses say Anthony reaches into his bag and says, quote, touch me and see what happens. Austin then touches Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony then, according to the witnesses, says, punch me and see what happens. Austin then grabbed Anthony again, and that is when a witness says Anthony takes a knife out and stabs.
Grabbed him again. So first you said that he touched him to tell him to move. Now you're saying he grabbed him again. So he didn't touch him to tell him to move. He grabbed him. Why didn't you say he grabbed him to tell him to move? Because you don't grab somebody to tell him to move. How the fuck do you tell somebody to move while you're grabbing them? If you're going to tell somebody to move while you're touching them, chances are you're pushing them. You know? And you don't have to be a trained investigator to realize that. There's an assault taking place right before he gets stabbed. That's why there's a case for self-defense.
Austin Metcalf in the chest. Austin then grabs his chest and calls for help. He would die in his twin brother's arms near the track. This is a law and crime legal alert. Did you know that children under the age of 21 are being diagnosed with some serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and research is potentially linking ultra.
As a kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and I'm not going to talk about the rest.
Austin seemed to be very close with his family. Here's a picture of his brother with their dad. Now, as far as Anthony, police say he ditched the knife and ran before he was arrested by officers who know in their reports that Anthony was hysterically crying when arrested and asked if Metcalf would be okay. Anthony seemed to believe what happened was self-defense. Police, though, have not seen it that way. Here's the probable cause affidavit. You can see Anthony is facing a charge of murder. And initially, he was held on $1 million bond. And that gets us to the update that we are following this week after a hearing about that bond. At a court hearing, Anthony, his attorneys, their family argued that the bond was just too high, that it was unfair to be that high, that Anthony had to remain behind bars ahead of his trial, which could be months from now. A judge decided to lower Anthony's bond from $1 million to $250,000. Cameras weren't allowed in the courtroom, but this is what we're hearing about what happened. Anthony's parents testified and argued that their son is a straight-A student, that he's never been in trouble before, and he's the oldest of 4 children. He also worked 2 jobs, including currently as a cashier at a grocery store, and on top of that, he was captain of his high school's football team. According to CBS News, Anthony's attorney wanted bond lowered from $1 million to $150,000. Prosecutors didn't call witnesses at this hearing, but they said bond should stay the same because they argue that's typically where bond is set for murder cases in Collin County, Texas. Since Austin Metcalf's death, the Anthony family has been able to raise quite a bit of money for Carmelo Anthony's legal defense. This is the fundraising page on the site Give, Send, Go. It's similar to a GoFundMe, and at this point, you can see it's raised more than $416,000. This page was started by the Anthony family, and it reads, quote, "The narrative being spread is false, unjust, and harmful. As a family of faith, we are deeply grateful for all of your support during this trying period. Your prayers and assistance mean more to us now more than ever." Comments on the side of the page show people giving money and people who believe that Carmelo acted in self-defense. Give, Send, Go has become, in many ways, the go-to site for defendants who find themselves in interesting legal situations. It's the same site where people have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the legal defense of Luigi Mangione, the man who's accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Manhattan. Give, Send, Go is an alternative to GoFundMe because GoFundMe doesn't allow campaigns that raise money for the legal defense of those accused of violent crimes. In the past, it's been a site that's become a go-to place for people raising money for Kyle Rittenhouse and people who were arrested in connection to January 6th. Now, in this case, Anthony's father was reportedly asked during this hearing why the Anthonys haven't used the hundreds of thousands of dollars already raised to bail their son out of jail. It might be $1 million bond, but in some cases you can get a bail bondsman to cover most of it, and you just have to put forward 10%. He said to that question, the site isn't a bond fund. Metcalf's family
In some cases, you can get a bondsman to cover most of it. How do you know that that's this case? You don't.
family also has a fundraising site, but the money for that was, and you just use the hundreds of thousands of dollars already raised to bail their son out of jail. It might be $1 million bond, but in some cases you can get a bail bondsman to cover most of it, and you just have to put forward 10%. He said to that question, the site isn't a bond fund. Metcalf's family also has a fundraising site, but the money for that was used in part to lay their son to rest. Right now, that page has more than $341,000. Metcalf was laid to rest last week at a church in Frisco. The Metcalfs are encouraging people to donate money to create a scholarship on their son's behalf. Anthony's bail was lowered to $250,000, and we'll talk about why the judge did that in just a moment and why at least one defense attorney believes that was a fair decision. The court said that Anthony would have to be on house arrest, wear that electronic monitoring device, and will check in with the court each week on Fridays. According to WFAA, the judge said in the courtroom where every seat was filled, that deputies provided more security than she had ever seen for a case, which is just an example of the attention that this story is receiving in Texas and beyond. Joining us now once again to talk about this case is criminal defense attorney Bridget Williams, who is based in Dallas. I know when Carmelo Anthony was first arrested, we chatted a bit about this case. Let's get to I want to start with the kind of the headline update that we've received this week, which happens to do with the bond amount going from $1 million down to $250,000. Was this a fair decision by the judge?
Well, let's start with one. I love the way that Judge Tucker phrases this. This is a bond hearing. This is not a trial setting. In my experience with Judge Tucker, she's always been extremely fair. She listens to both sides equally and gives both sides equal weight. So I think that she starts with the fact that this is a bond hearing. The purpose of a bond hearing is if we reduce this bond, will the defendant come back to court, right? What is the likelihood of them coming back to court? And
highly likely. Like, the fuck? Where's he going to go? His face is everywhere. The boy's likely never been out of Texas. If he has, it's probably a school function or a few times. Not much though. Likely doesn't have a driver's license. Doesn't have some serious means or anything like that. You put an ankle bracelet on him. Like, he's not a risk. He's 17 years old.
If they are released, what is the likelihood of them being safe in the community? So that's the purpose of this, not necessarily to determine guilt innocence at this phase. And so I think that this was a very fair decision by the court. She took into account what we call totality of the circumstances and what we use for every single bond hearing, the same elements every time. And then she weighs that and determines what is the correct amount. My understanding is that the defense counsel went in asking for $150,000, the state asking for $1 million. And so it's the judge's job to use judicial discretion based off all of the facts as it relates to the elements for the bond hearing, and then determine what is a proper amount to issue it, and also attach conditions as she did do in this circumstance.
And because I do think when you look at some of the chatter around any sort of bond decision, and this isn't the only case where kind of public opinion, when a bond decision comes down, has people debating on both sides. Bond, and you talked about this a little bit, it's not necessarily saying, it's not to punish someone, the point of bond. And that seems to be something that the public often thinks.
Yeah, I never, like, that's what I kept saying. I was like, what's up with the bond? Like, the bond was a punishment, $1 million? Come on, man.
Its purpose is supposed to be.
That's right. I mean, it's not that at all. It's not supposed to. I think this is actually one of the elements, not to be used as a object of oppression.
It's just we're used to seeing our jails full of motherfuckers that, what up, Little King reacts. You know what I'm saying? We're used to seeing our jails full of motherfuckers that can't afford to bond the fuck out. So we just assume that that's the way it's supposed to be. And no, that's not the purpose of bond. It's just not.
So the purpose of it specifically only is, will this person come back to court? And if released, are they a threat to the public or to themselves? And so that's what the purpose of that bond hearing is. And so when we go back to thinking of those things, I think the judge ruled fairly in this situation, especially adding on the conditions that she did.
I want to talk a little bit about kind of what we know about this altercation that took place, because I think since the last time we talked, there's been a little bit more information that's come forward where you have Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf who are exchanging words verbally. And then at one point, Carmelo Anthony says something along the lines of touch me, see what happens, and then says punch me, see what happens. And then Austin Metcalf, according to witnesses, puts his hands on Carmelo Anthony, and that is when Anthony allegedly takes out a knife and stabs Austin Metcalf. The defense, it seems, will go down this was an act of self-defense argument as this case goes forward. How does the kind of what we know took place based off witness testimony compare to, how does that align with the law and how the law sees what self-defense is?
Yeah, the law in Texas is very clear as it relates to self-defense, and that is, am I presenting equal force to that which was presented to me? And is that reasonable, right? So reasonable force is it equal? And in this situation, it's not necessarily equal. And so that's the reason why we have discretion, we have ranges of punishment, we have trial settings, and we have mitigating circumstances. So in this particular situation, in this young man's mind, he thought that he was being threatened. He thought that he had to give self-defense in the way that he thought that he needed to provide it. However, the law is very clear. Again, am I presenting equal force, which was given to me? So if he says, well, punch me and see what happens, and this young man punches him, that doesn't give me the right to pull out a gun. That doesn't give me the right to pull out a knife. It's not equal. And so that is the conflict there of what the state and the defense are going back and forth about, or will go back and forth about. I do foresee this probably moving forward to a trial setting because of that specifically. This young man, in his mind, believed that he was defending himself. And that's the issue with sometimes with our laws when we talk about them. I've heard a lot of people say on social media, well, every person has the right to defend themselves. Yes, we do. However, that right of self-defense has to be, in fact, equal to that which was presented to you.
Is that different than I know that self-defense laws are kind of a state-by-state basis, where there are some states where if you argue, I was afraid for my life in that moment, I did what I had to do. It seems in Texas that it's not as clear, or maybe it is more clear in how the law says it, as opposed to where if Carmelo Anthony goes into court and makes the argument, maybe Austin Metcalf was bigger than I was afraid for my life in that moment, and I was just trying to defend myself. If it's an equal force law, that doesn't seem like it could line up particularly well as a defense.
Well, that's why the defense moves forward generally with the trial setting, right? So they can bring all of those facts out in trial and give that explanation to a jury. And the jury makes the determination of, was he so inclined to believe that he was actually in fear of his life, not just from a punch, not just from a fist fight, but that this young man was so much bigger than me, he punched me.
So I'm saying, man, this is about the perception of the threat.
All these things. And in my mind, I was in danger of my life. And so I felt as though this was the equal force, right? That goes to a jury. And the jury then decides if that is what was necessary in order to move forward or not. And so that's why I think this will be a trial case more than likely.
I want to talk a little bit about the money that's being raised for Carmelo Anthony's defense. It's on a website that we talked about it a little bit ahead of time. Luigi Mangione, his defense is on Give, Send, Go, where they raised $200,000 plus to give to his defense. For you as a criminal defense attorney, is this something new that you're seeing, this kind of crowdfunding a defense? What do you make of this movement we're seeing in certain criminal cases where defendants are getting money from the public to pay for what is a right to have a legal defense in a case like
that? That is your fucking right, dog. That is your fucking right. So I don't see what the hell the problem is. He still got to stand trial, but he has the right to an attorney. And now he can afford one. So what the fuck?
One, I'll start off by saying that criminal defense teams, ones that are competent and do a good job and go above and beyond, are not cheap, right? It takes resources and finances in order to fund those things. Now, I've had clients before, and I've seen other people tell me that they have had to try sometimes to make the decision on if they want to hire an attorney, a personal attorney, or post the bond for their loved one. And in that situation, I'm always going to say hire their attorney, because then we can have the bond hearing, just as what Mr. Anthony's defense team did in this particular situation.
Straight up.
However, using all of the resources,
like for real, hey, like I said, bro, just hire the attorney. The good attorney will get the bond lowered. Like, that's what I'm saying. Y'all wanted, I mean, the law is involved here, so motherfuckers is about to work this shit. A lot of this shit be paperwork until the jury comes back. But
is that
and when I say paperwork, I mean making that paper work.
Came from crowdfunding and all those situations. I think that it is something that I've seen more, and we've seen in cases around the country, really not just in Texas, but around the country, especially in high-profile cases, because the defense team and the resources that they need in order to put up a proper defense cost money. It's not something that just, can come by day just from doing just some specific paperwork. It takes resources. It takes a team of people to put up a proper defense.
Is it? I remember, and this is kind of on the side, just because Luigi Mangione has been the big kind of crowd-funded defense, at least within the last year, that's been receiving a lot of attention. And I remember his defense attorney initially wasn't sure whether they would accept that money. Is it controversial as a defense team to accept crowdfunding money, or for a defendant to pay for your defense with money that comes from the public?
I don't know if it's controversial. I think it's a matter of, I think it's a case by case basis. It depends on, that particular defendant, depends on that particular attorney. Again, because like we stated just a moment ago, it costs money. It's not just the lawyer, but it's also their investigator. It's the staff that's working on the case. It's them taking away that time that they're working on the other cases, really to put a huge emphasis and a huge amount of their time and resources now into this particular case. That's also time away from their families. That's also time away from them doing other things as well. So just like any other job. So they are needing resources to pay that team of individuals that are going to show up and give the first class service to that person to give them the best defense possible.
Not to put you on the spot, but I mean, typically for a very competent, not saying the most, most expensive lawyer that's out there, but if someone was to pay for a criminal defense in a murder case, I mean, considering all the investigators, everything that might go into it, I mean, what typically is the price tag on something like that?
That is on the spot question, Chris. What I'll say is it depends, right? It depends. I know that's always the answer people don't really like, but it depends on their amount of time and that they have invested into doing this. How long have they been a criminal defense attorney? How many cases have they taken on similarly to this? And how is it that they can actually put forth the effort to be the best criminal defense attorney in this particular case? So it can range. And I would say that, something along the lines of $100,000 would not be unlikely for a case of this magnitude, because we're not only giving counsel in the manner of just representation in this particular case, but also counsel in other areas.
Yep. 100 racks, dog, minimum. And she's being generous, dog. Real shit. She being generous.
Areas as well. I think my understanding during the bond hearing is that the Anthony family now had to hire a security team. They also have to now hire a PR team in ways that how they present to the public, because the DA's office is doing that, right?
And they don't have time to prepare for that shit either, dog. So they gotta pay for shit on the spot. Probably have to pay for a mistake or three. What's up, Ebony? Probably have to pay for a mistake or three, which is understandable. These are things that you weren't planning on doing. You were just getting up, going to work every day, and then next thing you know, you get this fucking call. So you gotta move shit around, make shit work.
This attorney is also handling. He's kind of managing all of that all together. So all of those things have to be considered. So when I say, well, it depends, it just depends on a range of factors.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of asked, not to put you on the spot, but it was more, I think people think of what an attorney might charge, but it's all those other elements that someone may not realize leading up to a trial, the amount of people that work on a case and just what the cost of that may be. To this point, cameras haven't been allowed in the courtroom. And I know the judge yesterday reportedly said something. She hadn't seen security like that deputies put around the case, perhaps in her career, or at least in a really long time. How likely is it that we would get cameras in the courtroom if this were to go to trial?
I'm not sure. I think that would just be a matter for the judge to put into effect or not. They would tell us if they would allow cameras in the courtroom. But the difference is in this bond hearing, again, we go back to, we're talking specifically about the bond and not a trial setting. The trial setting, the judge at that point, whoever that judge is that will be ruling over it, will have the discretion to say if there will be cameras or not, based off of the safety for each of the witnesses, based off of the safety for the defendant and their families. And so I think they make that call based off of safety. Every trial setting is generally one for public viewing. It is. So if you want to walk up to the courthouse and actually sit there, that's one thing. But is it something where the court can determine, is this particular case one that needs to not be on camera or have multiple people in the actual courtroom itself, based off of the safety of all the people who are involved?
This case has received so much attention, and will continue to do so. I'm sure if it would go to trial, it would be one that would be covered on a national level. If you were on the criminal defense team for this, how do you manage that publicity? Is that something? Does the attention and the public support that Carmelo Anthony seems to have just based off the amount of money that's been raised on this site. Is that something, the attention, something that would help the defense going forward?
You're right in the fact that this has been something that has been national news, and definitely news over in Collin County, Dallas County, around the DFW Metroplex altogether. And so in order to manage that, hiring people who are good in their lane, I think that is imperative. And that's what they have done. They've hired, a great PR team and people who are able to kind of manage that and manage the public view and get out the word that, this may have been self-defense. And this is the reasons why. These are the reasons why he believed that it was self-defense. And so getting that information out to the public in a organized way is definitely something that the defense team is managing and working alongside with people who is their lane to put out information to the public. So I would say yes to the fact that it's something that they need to be doing, but they are doing it, and it's working out pretty well based off of the amount of money that he has raised.
There are many people who commit murder that never spend another day free in their lives. In this case, it appears Carmelo Anthony thought at least he was in self-defense. If he would be found guilty because the law doesn't see it that way, what type of punishment?
Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. 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 I wanna thank you all. I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you all. I wanna thank you. Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. Keep it gangster, dog. Keep it gangster. The city is a big, West Side is a big.
Man, shout out to Bridget Moten. Shout out to Lee's. You know what I'm saying? Egyptian Goddess. Everybody that's been donating any cash apps that came in. Shout out to Ebony too, coming through. You know what I'm saying? With the $4.99, the $10 super sticker from Bridget, the $2 super chat, the gifted memberships. Appreciate all of the support and the love. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's what's up. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting. I don't know why the fuck. Maybe I didn't do it right, but we actually hit that goal. We did hit that goal. It didn't let me put it in on the second channel, but we did hit it. I know I got like it's supposed to be like 5 super chats or whatever, but we did hit it. So thank you. I'm about to kill the goal. You know what I'm saying? We hit it, and we hit it in under 3 hours. So I appreciate y'all. And I said it was any color too. So it was supposed to be for any amount. Maybe it didn't count the memberships. I don't know, but I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody that donated. New memberships, super chats, all of that, because we did hit the goal. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. What up? It is what it is. Now we hit it, and we hit it in under 3 hours. So that's straight.
And could he be looking at, and how much do the facts that surround the case of maybe it was a spur of the moment thing, he didn't mean to do it, if that's the defense's argument, what type of punishment, and I know that this is a long way away, but what type of punishment could he be looking looking at?
Yeah, this is a long way away, and then this is a separate phase. So you have guilt innocence phase, and then you have a punishment phase. So if found guilty, then he has a punishment phase. Murder is a first-degree felony in the state of Texas. Punishment range up to 99 years in the penitentiary, up to a $10,000 fine. However, there is a reason for ranges of punishment, and that is because we have discretion. The state, when they present their case, the judge then has the discretion on what punishment to provide. If they go to the judge, if they go to the jury for punishment, then the jury then has the discretion to determine what is the appropriate amount of years of punishment for this particular person. Now, the ranges of punishment can be anywhere, up to that 99-year time period. And so that's when all of those other mitigating circumstances come into play. He's never been in trouble before. He was a captain of the football team. He had a bright future. All these different things, that information would come up in the actual punishment phase. Not necessarily, it probably may come up in some small facets of the guilt innocence, but it would 110% be coming up in a punishment phase if it were to move forward to that point.
How long until a trial potentially?
That could be a year. That could be years. There's no statute of limitations on a murder case, so that could technically be quite some time. I have noticed that cases that are more high profile move a little faster than other cases, but we have felony cases right now who have been sitting and waiting for a trial for 6 months, 9 months, sometimes a year. So it can really just depend based off of the multitude and volume that the district clerk's office is receiving cases in. But most of the time when there's a high profile case, it seems to move a little faster.
Yeah, we'll see how this one plays out. It's just such a sad story on so many levels. And we'll see how the legal process, where things go next. Bridget Williams, it's always great to have you on Law and Crime. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So that was actually a pretty good breakdown. I know I had one more. And where do we want to get that from? Oh, definitely some other things I wanted to break down too, because I think I'll kind of put this to bed. There's really not much else that can come out about this except for a bunch of hearsay. But the bond reduction was something that I thought we could talk about without a doubt there. Hold up. Matter of fact, that'll pretty much be it. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Hold on, let me get this one. Bam. Bam. All right. No, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I'm about to get up out of here. It's about to be fourth quarter of this last playing game. We're going to finish watching that. My final take on this, man, these damn newborn conservatives, I'm glad y'all are getting y'all independent thinkers wake up call. I think it's fucking hilarious because you're trying to call shit down the middle and you realizing that you had already picked the fucking side. There is no calling it down the middle. You know, told you, you call it to the left, you're going to piss off the right. You call it to the right, you're going to piss off the left. You call it down the middle, you're going to piss everybody off. So if you're going to pick a side, pick your own. But it's too late for a lot of the motherfuckers. So to hell with them. As far as this boy's bond being reduced, hey, it was reduced for a reason. It was astronomical to begin with. It was out of line. It was way too fucking much. $1 million. It's down to 250. That boy is out. He's home. That is what it is. Now we'll let the legal wheels turn. You know. On that note, I want to thank everybody. Shout out to everybody that helped us hit the goal. Egyptian Goddess, Lee's, Bridget Moten, Ebony, everybody that supported. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. I'm about to get up out of here. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Cash App's available. Super Thanks is available if you're catching the replay. I appreciate that. This was a fun one. Y'all have a good night. Peace.